Snowflakes gently fall as a young man in a tan coat gazes thoughtfully into the bright blue sky. A soldier in camouflage confirms the young man's identity as Secretary Shim Dae-young, holding up a device with a reassuring smile. The young man stands before a large, imposing gate marked with a danger sign, while the soldier salutes and orders the gate to be opened. Snow continues to swirl in the cold air, setting the scene in the northern Chorwon conflict zone. The young man trudges through a snow-covered path scattered with broken concrete and debris, snowflakes drifting softly around him. He holds up a device projecting a glowing blue holographic map, its coordinates clearly marked and glowing in the cold air. Turning his head, he confirms the direction indicated by the coordinates, eyes fixed on the distant snowy landscape ahead. Without hesitation, he springs forward with swift, determined steps, ready to follow the path laid out before him. The young man, surrounded by swirling blue energy and snow, lunges forward with fierce determination, asking if it's time to begin, embodying the superhuman physical abilities that awakeners possess after the catastrophic event. The memory of daybreak unfolds, an event etched into humanity's collective consciousness, where monstrous creatures poured out from newly opened dungeons, pushing civilization to the edge of extinction amid fiery chaos and destruction. Despite the devastation, humanity slowly rebuilt itself thanks to the emergence of awakeners worldwide. As the 20-year Daybreak Great War neared its end, with fierce battles raging between humans and monstrous foes in a ruined cityscape. During the final battle in Incheon, a lone figure charges through a vortex of swirling monsters and energy, signaling a pivotal moment in the war's climax as the conflict reaches its decisive turning point. A figure crackles with intense blue electricity, his eyes glowing fiercely as he unleashes a powerful attack, embodying the might of one of the 5 legendary war heroes. The ruined city of Incheon basks in the fiery glow of sunset, its shattered buildings a testament to the brutal conflict that ended with the hero's victory, a moment forever recorded in history. Decades later, snow blankets the landscape as a lone figure speeds across the frozen terrain, heading toward a secluded location in Chorwon, where a war hero now lives far from the public eye. The young man arrives at a simple icy dwelling, contemplating the solitary life of an elderly man rumored to be 80 years old, whose rugged appearance gives off the aura of a mountain hermit. The young man bursts forward with explosive speed, snow scattering wildly beneath his feet as he charges toward a towering figure standing in the distance. His eyes narrow sharply, focus intensifying as he locks onto his target with unwavering determination. He skids to a sudden halt, sending a spray of snow into the air, his body poised and ready for whatever comes next. Standing before him is an enormous creature resembling a giant bird, its wide eyes blinking curiously as it lets out a soft quack, surprising the young man who steps back in shock, realizing this monster is unlike any he expected. A close-up reveals a creature called the moss duck, described as a monster with a cute duck head perched atop an ostrich-like body, its large eyes wide and innocent against a backdrop of softly falling snow. The young man's face tightens with concern as he recalls the moss duck's terrifying speed, capable of running at 100 kilometers per hour, his breath visible in the cold air. A group of these strange creatures gather together, their duck heads bobbing and quacking in unison, emphasizing that they never travel alone as they surround a large, dark ostrich-like figure. The young man clenches his fist, blue energy crackling around him, his expression fierce as he contemplates the challenge ahead, realizing that moss ducks are A-rank disaster monsters and questioning if he must fight them now. The young man dashes forward, panic clear in his expression as a massive flock of moss ducks charges relentlessly behind him, their beaks wide open and eyes glowing with ferocity. Snow flies up around his feet as he struggles to outrun the terrifying horde. Sweat beads on his face, his eyes wide with fear as he admits to himself the grim reality. If he fights these monsters, death is almost certain. The relentless creatures pound the snowy ground in pursuit, their speed and numbers overwhelming as the young man desperately pushes his limits to escape, the cold wind whipping past him. The moss ducks close in with terrifying cries, their sharp teeth bared and eyes blazing with aggression, while the young man shouts in disbelief, questioning how anyone could survive in such a merciless environment. The young man's eyes widen in shock as a massive bird streaks past him, trailing fiery streaks of energy, prompting him to exclaim in disbelief. The monstrous bird reveals itself as an A-rank disaster thunderbird, its fierce eyes glowing with power, known for tearing victims apart without leaving a trace. A terrified expression crosses the young man's face as he sprints desperately through the snow, pursued by a relentless flock of aggressive moss ducks, their beaks snapping fiercely. His gaze suddenly locks onto a solitary cabin nestled in the snowy wilderness, his voice rising in surprise as he questions the unexpected sight. The young man resolves to hide for now, propelling himself forward with a burst of speed, a swirling aura of energy trailing behind him as he leaps toward the rooftop. Suddenly, a massive thunderbird descends with blazing fury, its eyes glowing fiercely as it lunges toward the young man, who narrowly dodges the fiery claws. The creature's sharp talons slash through the air inches from his body, the intense heat and crackling energy surrounding the attack forcing him to grimace in shock and strain. The Thunderbird's glowing eyes lock onto him with terrifying intensity, its beak wide open in a menacing screech as the young man looks up in alarm, sweat beading on his face. Panic floods the young man's face as he screams internally, convinced that his fate is sealed. Suddenly, the terrifying scene shifts as a pair of adorable blue birds with sparkling eyes appear, their innocent cries filling the air, confusing him as he realizes this is not a threat. His mind races, recalling a faint human voice just moments ago, leaving him bewildered and questioning what he truly heard. A calm, authoritative voice commands the birds to release him, and a hand gripping a wooden staff signals control over the flock, bringing an unexpected peace to the chaotic moment. The young man screams in terror as two large blue birds swoop down, one of them grabbing him midair with sharp talons. He slams forcefully against a wall, snow scattering around him as he braces for impact, his expression fierce and determined. Looking up, he notices the two birds flying away into the clear sky, sweat dripping down his face as he contemplates the strange sight of monsters obeying a human's command. The protagonist stands outside a snowy cabin, holding a broom and asking if the young man is the new secretary, his composed demeanor contrasting with the harsh winter surroundings. The young man, eyes wide with surprise and suspicion, asks the calm stranger who he is, his breath visible in the cold air as snowflakes drift around them. The protagonist responds with a steady, almost indifferent tone, telling the young man that he and his companions should leave as well, his gaze unwavering despite the falling snow. Suddenly, a swarm of fierce moss ducks with glowing eyes and sharp teeth surrounds the young man, their aggressive quacking filling the air as he braces himself against a wall, sweat forming on his brow. The MC raises his hands in a deliberate, controlled motion, signaling the flock with an unseen power, the snow swirling gently around his movements as he asserts control over the chaotic scene. A line of moss ducks stand alert, their beaks open as they quack loudly, snowflakes drifting around them under a clear blue sky. The black-haired man watches as a large group of ostrich-like creatures march away in a precise 5-column formation, their footsteps kicking up snow. The protagonist casually remarks that he told the creatures they didn't need to visit every time, while the young man looks on in surprise and confusion. The young man, sweat beading on his face, nervously asks if the MC standing nearby might be someone important, his voice filled with hesitation. The protagonist looks over his shoulder, quietly stating his name as Choi Kang-ho, the snow softly falling around him. He walks toward a rustic cabin, broom resting on his shoulder, inviting the young man inside to warm up and eat, acknowledging the harshness of the morning journey. The young man's eyes widen in shock and recognition as he realizes the man before him is the legendary war hero who recently turned 80, his mind racing with the weight of this revelation. A vivid memory or vision bursts forth, showing the younger version of Choi Kang-ho engulfed in fiery energy, standing resolute amidst a battlefield strewn with defeated monsters, hailed as the legendary Beast King, who secured peace through his victory in the Great War. The young man calls out desperately, urging the protagonist to wait for him as snowflakes swirl around them on the cold path. Inside a sparse, modest kitchen, the young man sits at a table while the MC busies himself with the cupboards, the quiet atmosphere contrasting the harsh winter outside. The young man surveys the room with a furrowed brow, noting how the space is almost empty, his thoughts troubled by the stark simplicity. The MC, holding a frying pan, contemplates his own reflection with a hint of disbelief, wondering how someone with such a youthful face could be 80 years old. A small blue bird perches atop a large spotted egg, fluttering its wings as the dark-haired man turns his head slightly, his expression calm but curious. He admits he doesn't understand why his body stopped aging, his gaze steady as he contemplates the mystery. The man, now seen from the side, ignites a small flame with his fingers over a stove, teasingly asking if others are surprised by his youthful appearance despite his age. The young man sitting across from him leans forward, surprised and earnest, explaining that the other heroes who fought alongside the older man nearly 3 decades ago have since become powerful guild masters or government pillars, all having aged naturally. The dark-haired man rests his hand on the table, acknowledging that everyone else has grown old. The young man raises a finger, nervously insisting that most people who look young for their age usually claim ignorance, then pressing the older man to explain the reason behind his halted aging. The young man, eyes wide with surprise, watches a small blue bird fluttering excitedly as the dark-haired man holds a large spotted egg, explaining that it's a thunderbird chick, cuter than expected. The young man's expression softens, a smile breaking through as he admits the chick really is adorable, his voice filled with genuine warmth. The dark-haired man cracks the egg into a bowl, calmly explaining the legendary beast master ability that compels all monsters to bow their heads, emphasizing that the war hero's feat of stopping the monster legion alone was no exaggeration. The young man looks up thoughtfully at the small bird, acknowledging that the older man still raises magical beasts, recalling how he always had a monster companion during the Great War 29 years ago. A young man, holding a phone, looks up with a serious expression as he states that there is a problem, questioning why the other person brought up a matter they already know the outcome of. The MC, identified as Choi Kang-ho, sits at a table in a modern kitchen, pushing a tray with a simple meal forward while telling the young man he doesn't want to discuss that topic and urges him to eat and explain his reason for coming. The young man quickly apologizes, visibly nervous. The scene shifts to a dramatic memory or vision where a dark figure stands before a massive, glowing mythical beast with multiple tails, emphasizing that this was an SS-rank mythical beast partner. The fiery aura and shattered ground highlight the beast's immense power and significance. The young man reaches out to take the meal, his hand trembling slightly as he prepares to listen, the quiet tension between them underscored by the simple breakfast of a fried egg and a cup of tea. The young man bows respectfully in the snowy yard, expressing his honor in meeting the legendary figure and apologizing for his earlier rudeness. The dark-haired man listens thoughtfully, acknowledging the emergence of new monster species near Busan and Daegu, noting their rapidly increasing spawn rates and aggression, which is why the young man urgently seeks his assistance. He reflects quietly, recognizing that encountering a new species is unprecedented since the Great War, then asks the young man to provide more details about these monsters. The young man holds a futuristic tablet displaying images of terrifying new monsters, explaining the dire situation and the desperate need for the older man's help to confront this escalating threat. The young man hesitantly asks one last question, curious why the older figure chooses to live alone in such a remote place. The dark-haired man, arms crossed and calm, reveals he is waiting for something, his expression serene despite the falling snow. The young man presses further, asking what exactly he is waiting for. As a small, fierce creature trapped in ice growls nearby, the older man begins to answer, his tone steady and composed. Suddenly, the icy creature lunges forward, startling the young man as he reacts with wide eyes and surprise. The icy creature lunges fiercely toward the young man, who reacts with wide eyes and a shocked expression, barely avoiding the sudden attack. The young man shouts in alarm as the white saber tiger, an S-rank disaster, charges with overwhelming speed and power. Choi Kang-ho appears calmly outside a wooden cabin, waving and explaining that the saber tiger will escort the young man safely because it becomes dangerous after dark, while the young man nervously asks if he can trust the beast. With his arms raised triumphantly, the dark-haired man declares that the guest is gone, signaling the saber tiger has left and the immediate threat has passed. Choi Kang-ho stands outside a wooden cabin, sweeping the snow with a calm expression, remarking on how the snowfall never seems to stop. Inside, he washes rice in the kitchen, focused on his task with a quiet determination. Sitting on a small stool, he cheerfully encourages his small companions, a blue bird and a peculiar creature with a sheep-like hat, to eat their meal. Suddenly, as he continues sweeping, a white saber tiger bursts through the snow, startling him as the powerful beast charges forward with fierce energy. A lone figure sits quietly on a snowy rooftop, the cold wind swirling around him as snowflakes drift gently through the air. The dark-haired man turns his head slightly, sweat forming on his face as he asks if someone has already been dropped off and if they were left somewhere carelessly. A large white creature with exaggerated, teary eyes looks up with a sorrowful expression, its fluffy fur ruffled by the cold. The man smiles softly, snow resting on his hair, as the white beast affectionately nuzzles him, prompting him to quietly call the creature by name, Mangchi. The young man shivers with wide, dizzy eyes as a soldier in camouflage gear salutes him, asking if he had a safe trip. The man nervously questions if he was really carried here in the mouth of a saber tiger the size of a bull, doubting if it was a dream. The soldier laughs warmly, admitting that everyone is quite shocked at first when encountering such things. The young man, now sweating but smiling faintly, admits they have grown pretty much used to these extraordinary events by now, sharing a moment of uneasy acceptance with the soldier. Meanwhile, the MC grips a wooden stick firmly, preparing to move forward as snow continues to fall gently around him. The young man swiftly mounts the large white saber tiger, gripping its fur tightly as snowflakes swirl around them in the cold air. He looks down at the creature affectionately, speaking softly as he encourages it to move forward, their bond clear in his calm expression. With a powerful leap, the saber tiger bursts into a full sprint, the young man holding on firmly as they race through the snowy landscape with fierce determination. Energy crackles around them as they surge ahead, the young man's focused gaze cutting through the cold air, while a caption marks the moment as occurring 49 years ago, just after daybreak. A lone figure slides swiftly down a snowy slope, surrounded by glowing blue and pink plants that illuminate the dark landscape. As a narration explains how Chorwin developed a unique ecosystem inhabited by bizarre creatures, due to the monsters that poured out. The same figure rides a large white saber tiger at full speed through the snowfields. The beast's powerful movement kicking up snow as the narration marks the time as 49 years ago in these very snowfields. The narration reveals that it was during this time that the man met Seol-hwa for the first time. As the scene focuses on the snowy ground with the saber tiger's paw visible, the dark-haired man walks forward through the snow, wearing a white t-shirt and shorts, with the large white saber tiger following closely behind him, its tongue out and eyes gentle, as snowflakes drift around them. A figure slides rapidly down a snowy slope, the cold wind whipping around him as snowflakes scatter through the air. The man gazes upward thoughtfully, acknowledging that something is definitely growing little by little. His eyes fixate on a glowing blue egg perched atop a snow-covered mound. Realizing the significance of the mysterious egg, the scene shifts to a chaotic battle from 29 years ago, where monstrous creatures swarm a lone figure standing defiantly in the middle of a desolate street, surrounded by a dark, ominous energy. A young man stands calmly as monstrous creatures with glowing eyes and snarling faces surge toward him, their chaotic energy filling the air with menace. The crowd of grotesque monsters presses in tightly, their twisted forms blending into a mass of fury and darkness, while the young man remains composed amidst the chaos. A brilliant burst of light erupts from the center of the monstrous horde, slicing through the crowd with overwhelming force and scattering the creatures violently. Blinding beams of energy rain down, striking the monsters relentlessly and tearing through the night, as the young man unleashes a powerful attack that decimates the surrounding fiends. The young man, eyes glowing with determination, commands the activation of a sensory link with his contracted beast, his intense gaze cutting through the swirling energy around him. He launches a powerful attack, slashing through the monstrous horde with swift, glowing strikes that scatter the creatures in a dazzling display of force. As the attack clears, the massive white wolf leaps into the fray, descending with fierce energy upon the stunned monsters, its presence radiating overwhelming power. Standing resolutely beside the towering white wolf, the young man places a hand gently on its fur, their bond evident as blue energy crackles around them, signaling their united strength. A determined foot steps down with force, surrounded by swirling blue energy, as a voice urges Seol-hwa to move forward. A glowing silver wolf with radiant fur and striking eyes leaps powerfully through the air, while a man dashes alongside her toward a horde of monstrous enemies, recalling how they joined the Incheon defense battle to end the war. The narration solemnly reflects on the battle where the world was saved, the background fading to black with the words emphasizing the gravity of the moment. Amidst the ruins of a devastated city, a man kneels beside the fallen silver wolf, Seol-hwa, as snow gently falls around them, mourning the loss of his partner. A figure slides swiftly down a snowy slope, the cold wind whipping around him as snowflakes scatter through the air. The massive white wolf lies still, its fur stained and eyes closed, breathing heavily in the cold as snow continues to fall around it. Kneeling beside the fallen wolf amidst the ruins of a devastated city, the man gently places his hand on its head, expressing sorrow and gratitude for its efforts. The young man lowers his gaze, his expression heavy with grief and regret as the cold wind and falling snow surround him in the desolate landscape. A man kneels on the snowy ground, his hand extended toward a glowing blue crystal resting in the snow, surrounded by swirling snowflakes that shimmer in the cold air. He braces himself as a powerful burst of energy erupts from the ground nearby, sending shockwaves and debris flying violently into the darkened sky. The man remains focused amid the chaos, his eyes wide with intensity as the energy continues to explode around him, fragments of light scattering through the air. The glowing blue crystal lies alone in the snow, its radiant light contrasting with the dark background, as a narration explains that Seol-hwa faded away, leaving this crystal behind in her place. A man sits quietly on a snowy slope, gazing thoughtfully at a glowing blue crystal resting atop a snow-covered mound, as snowflakes drift gently around him. Text reveals he has been waiting here since a significant past moment, remaining unchanged. He speaks softly, addressing someone named Hwa, mentioning that midnight will bring the arrival of a new year, his expression calm and reflective amid the falling snow. A small glowing fairy flutters near his wristwatch, which shows the time just before midnight, its delicate wings shimmering in the cold air as the man watches attentively. Surrounded by several luminous fairies, the man smiles warmly, asking if they came from a nearby gate to celebrate the new year, his eyes filled with gentle curiosity and hope. A small glowing fairy hovers near a black digital watch displaying the date and time. Thursday, February 24th, 2069. At 11:59.57, the fairy reaches out toward the watch, its delicate wings shimmering in the cold air. The scene shifts to a peaceful night sky filled with softly glowing fairies fluttering gently among drifting snowflakes, their light casting a serene glow around a young man and a massive white wolf sitting side by side, both gazing upward in quiet contemplation. The digital watch is shown again, now at 11:59.58, the seconds ticking closer to midnight as the atmosphere grows charged with anticipation. Suddenly, a brilliant burst of blue energy erupts from a glowing crystal resting on the snowy ground, surrounded by luminous fairies whose light intensifies the radiant explosion, signaling the arrival of a significant moment. A young man slides rapidly down a snowy slope, the cold wind and swirling snowflakes rushing past him as he descends. He looks up with a calm yet focused expression, the digital clock beside him ticking to 11.59.59, the final second before midnight. Suddenly, a brilliant blue crystal erupts with radiant energy, shattering and sending shards and beams of light bursting into the night sky as the clock strikes 12.00.00. The young man falls back in surprise as a massive, glowing white wolf with piercing blue eyes crashes down beside him, snow and ice scattering from the impact. Snow swirls fiercely as a glowing white figure moves through the darkness, the text revealing it has been 50 years since daybreak. The protagonist looks up in surprise, the narration marking midnight exactly 30 years since the Great War ended. A small, glowing white creature with bright blue eyes appears, the narration explaining it looks exactly like Seol-wa. The MC kneels in the snow beside a massive white wolf, surrounded by glowing fairies, as he calls out a gentle greeting to the little creature in the same snowfields of Chorwin where he first met Seol-wa. A caption reflects on a time nearly 50 years ago, setting the stage for a memory. A soldier in camouflage, identified by the name tag as Choi Kang-ho, clutches a small white creature tightly, sweat and snowflakes mixing as he struggles through the harsh conditions. The soldier runs desperately, his face tense and determined, as monstrous creatures with sharp teeth and claws surge after him across the snowy terrain, their snarls and roars filling the air. He shouts urgently, still clutching the small white creature, his breath visible in the cold air as he flees from the relentless monsters closing in behind him. The soldier looks up with a mix of awe and recognition, speaking softly to the creature he holds, calling it Seol-wa, as the small white being gazes back with wide, expressive eyes, their bond clear amid the chaos. Despite the deadly chaos swirling around him, the soldier runs desperately across the snowy slope, pursued by monstrous creatures with snarling jaws and claws, while a narration reflects on the pure white fox that caught his eye like destiny. Kneeling in the snow beside a massive white wolf, the MC watches a small glowing creature surrounded by luminous fairies, as the narration reveals this is the very place where he first met it, and that its child has now awakened. The small white creature bursts forward energetically, kicking up snow as it leaps toward the MC, who looks on with calm anticipation amid the swirling snowflakes and glowing lights. The glowing white fox affectionately licks the MC's cheek, who smiles warmly in return, their bond evident as snowflakes drift gently around them in the quiet night. Snow swirls around a young man sitting on a snowy slope, his dark hair ruffled by the cold wind as he looks up toward the sky. A close-up reveals a small white creature with bright blue eyes and a joyful expression, its fur glowing softly as it asks if the MC is greeting it. The MC smiles warmly, gently pressing his forehead against the creature's as he returns the greeting, a tender moment shared amid the falling snow. The scene widens to show the MC kneeling beside a massive white wolf under a dusky sky, reflecting that the little creature resembles Seol-wa, while dark-winged beasts streak through the sky above, triggering an alert that the beast eye has been activated. A hand holds a futuristic transparent device displaying images of monstrous creatures, while a voice explains that these are newly discovered monster species from the southern conflict zone, emphasizing the urgent need for assistance due to the increasing frequency of aggressive new monsters. The protagonist narrows his eyes with a serious expression, questioning if this is a new monster species, recalling that he hasn't encountered one since the Great Daybreak War. A large, ominous black dragon-like creature with glowing red streaks soars through the snowy sky, while a digital readout reveals its species as Windbyong, noting its rarity, attack, defense, special ability, and potential ratings. The MC gazes thoughtfully into the distance as the small glowing white creature with bright blue eyes rests on his shoulder, pondering whether Seol-wa's child awakening after 30 years and the emergence of new monsters are merely coincidences or something more. Snow drifts softly as a young man sits alone on a snowy slope, the cold wind tousling his dark hair while he gazes thoughtfully at the sky. Beside him, a massive white wolf watches quietly as a small glowing white fox with bright blue eyes playfully nudges the wolf's snout, the MC smiling warmly at the gentle interaction. The tiny fox then reaches out a paw to tap the wolf's face, prompting a calm, affectionate response as the MC looks on with a serene expression, the snowy evening glowing softly around them. The scene shifts to a nighttime cityscape blanketed in snow, revealing Gangnam-gu, Seoul, where the towering Mercenary Tower stands illuminated, marked as the headquarters of Korea's top 3 guild mercenaries. A glowing, blue-tinged creature streaks swiftly through the night sky, its form blurred by speed as it approaches a tall building illuminated against the snowy backdrop. The luminous being darts past the windows of the towering structure, its rapid movement causing a sharp gust that catches the attention of a guard inside. The guard, clad in tactical gear, reacts with shock as the glowing creature passes close by, his eyes wide with alarm at the sudden appearance. Another guard urgently grabs his comrade's shoulder, warning him of a demonic beast on the roof and demanding immediate backup, their tense expressions underscoring the gravity of the threat. A tense exchange unfolds between two guards clad in tactical gear. One firmly reminds the other of a crucial emergency response rule about a young man riding a saber tiger being a friend of the chairman, urging kindness and guidance. The commanding guard calmly instructs to open the roof gate for the VIP visitor, while the other guard processes this revelation, realizing the emergency manual isn't just a ghost story to scare rookies. A security keypad emits a beep as a door unlocks, immediately followed by the fierce roar of a saber tiger with glowing blue eyes, startling those nearby who acknowledge it as a terrifying demonic beast. Nearby, the protagonist sternly tells Mungchi to stop frightening people, while the saber tiger pants with its tongue out, its glowing blue aura swirling around as snowflakes drift gently in the night air. A young man gently pats the massive white saber tiger, asking if it can wait quietly until he returns, while a guard watches from the shadows, greeting him as Mercenary Guild Master Choi Kang-ho after a long absence. The MC waves casually, acknowledging it's been a while since they last met, standing close to the imposing saber tiger as snowflakes fall softly around them. A voice inquires if someone is inside the building, while the MC stands alone in a dimly lit room filled with shelves of books and trophies, the city lights glowing faintly through the windows. A framed photo shows two men, one smiling broadly with an arm around the other's shoulder, who looks more reserved. A thought reflects on how the younger man once appeared so fresh and youthful back then. The protagonist stands in a room lined with shelves filled with trophies and books, a faint smile crossing his face as he reflects on how his footsteps seem to grow louder with age. Suddenly, a gruff voice calls out his name with surprise and excitement, revealing the speaker as Lim Chulbei, one of the 5 heroes of Daybreak and the Mercenary Guild Master known as the Iron Fist King. The older man bursts forward with a booming welcome, embracing the MC tightly in a powerful hug that nearly takes him off guard. As the older man holds him close, the MC awkwardly asks about the large stash of liquor nearby, hinting at the older man's boisterous and hearty nature as the reunion continues. A tiny white cat with bright blue eyes peeks out from the MC's hoodie pocket, letting out a soft whimper as it nestles close to his chest. The small creature exhales a relieved sigh, its cheeks flushed with a faint blush as it settles comfortably inside the hoodie. The older man, grinning broadly with a cigar clenched between his teeth, declares that they must drink heavily to catch up at their age, while the MC playfully questions if he should be more concerned about his health at 80. The older man leans in curiously toward the cat, remarking that it looks somewhat familiar, as the MC smiles warmly, holding the little creature close between them. The older man, cigar clenched between his teeth, reacts with wide-eyed shock, exclaiming in disbelief about the possibility that the small creature was born from Sealwa's egg. The protagonist smiles warmly, gently petting the tiny white cat nestled in his hoodie, explaining that since the creature is Sealwa's child, he decided to name her Seal Dash. The older man leans in close to the adorable cat, teasingly asking if the MC came just to show off the cute little animal, his expression softening with curiosity. Laughing heartily, the older man enthusiastically declares they must have a drink to celebrate, wrapping an arm around the MC who responds with a reluctant but amused agreement. Snow swirls fiercely as a lone figure slides down a snowy slope, the cold wind whipping around him. Inside a warmly lit room, the MC and the older, bearded mercenary share a hearty laugh, glasses raised amid scattered bottles, while a small white cat looks on in surprise. The MC leans forward, serious now, explaining he came with a request, prompting the older mercenary to ask what it is with a curious smile. Holding up a futuristic device displaying monstrous creatures, the MC reveals the Disaster Management Bureau delivered it, while the older man, cigar clenched, grimly admits their guild is troubled by the threat it represents. The MC calmly sips his drink, his sharp eyes reflecting a serious thought as he utters the words, demonic energy. With a steady voice, the older mercenary leans in, his intense gaze underscoring the gravity of the situation as he reveals that one of their top-ranked fighters sent to the southern conflict zone has gone missing, emphasizing the elite status and high domestic ranking of the lost warrior. Shadows of monstrous creatures loom menacingly behind a lone figure wielding dual swords, illustrating the dangerous foes faced, while the older man warns that new monster species are appearing more frequently, hinting at an ominous shift. A close-up of a terrifying monster crackling with dark, fiery energy accompanies the older man's grim explanation that some of these creatures are harboring demonic energy, confirming the escalating threat they must confront. The monsters from the Great Daybreak War all harbored demonic energy, their forms shadowed in dark purple flames that radiate an ominous power. Those infused with this energy had their instincts heightened to an unimaginable degree, their ferocity amplified beyond normal limits, as monstrous figures loom with glowing eyes and fierce expressions. At the center of this terrifying force stood an entity named Majin, whose presence pushed the monster's demonic energy to its absolute peak, casting a dark, fiery aura that commands dread and awe. Suddenly, a hand slams down a glass filled with ice and amber liquid, accompanied by a voice calling out to Kang-ho, breaking the tension with a sharp, direct address. The older man proudly announces his world ranking as 40th this year, adding that he holds an impressive 6th place in Korea, his face flushed with excitement and a thumbs-up gesture. The protagonist, holding a glass of whiskey, compliments the older man on doing well for his age, prompting the older man to angrily complain about rising prices and housing costs, lamenting that only his ranking is falling. The older man eagerly leans forward, placing a futuristic device on the table and insisting that the MC measure his magic power before leaving, revealing his own power level at 14,000 for comparison. The MC leans back with a weary expression, holding his drink, and declines the offer, saying he doesn't want to bother with it and doesn't even know how to use the device. A gruff older man firmly refuses to give a birthday present, but the protagonist, smiling calmly, concedes that if the curiosity is strong enough, he will comply. The MC prepares to use a device by sliding his arm forward, explaining he needs to insert it first, while the older man encourages him to inject his magic power into the device. Electricity crackles wildly around the MC as he channels his magic power into the device, asking if this is the correct way, while the device begins scanning him. The device confirms the MC's identity as Choi Kang-ho, codename Beastmaster, and reveals his combat power rating as 120,000. A young man slides down a snowy slope, the cold wind and snowflakes swirling fiercely around him as he descends. The MC, now indoors, looks intently at a device displaying his estimated combat ranking, revealing he is first in both domestic and world rankings. An older man, cigar clenched between his teeth, shouts in shock and disbelief at the MC, demanding what he has been doing living in isolation. The MC smiles warmly, a small white creature licking his cheek, as he explains he has been quietly farming and raising the creature named Munchie, prompting the older man to reflect on the idea of returning to farming in later years with a mix of envy and resignation. Munchie slides swiftly down a snowy slope, the cold wind and snowflakes swirling fiercely around him as he descends. A serene orchard near Choi Kang-ho's residence glows softly with blue fruit hanging from trees, while the MC walks thoughtfully, wondering if Chulbei's hangover will pass. The orchard is home to many ability fruit trees that strengthen demonic beasts, earning it its name. Small earth fairies and lower-level monsters called Gallug flutter and scurry among the trees, nurturing the vegetation and making the orchard a valuable resource for the Beast King. The narration hints at a way to enhance this orchard further. Kang-ho holds a large, radiant fairy stone, marveling at its size and the fact it was given as a gift, before kneeling to plant it into the ground among the glowing orchard, watched curiously by the small creatures around him. The MC presses his hands firmly into the soil, channeling a vibrant blue energy that swirls around his fingers and the earth beneath. The energy intensifies, wrapping around him in a glowing spiral as he leans forward, fully immersed in the power flowing through his body. A small white creature with bright blue eyes perches on his shoulder, both gazing ahead with calm satisfaction as he smiles softly, appreciating the remarkable effect of his efforts. The glowing blue energy cascades over the orchard's fruit, illuminating them with a radiant light as he notes that the fruits themselves are also being enhanced by this magical infusion. The small white creature bursts into joyful leaps, its bright blue eyes sparkling with excitement as it floats upward, surrounded by glowing blue fruits and lively earth fairies. The cheerful moles below watch with wide smiles, sharing in the happiness. The fairies and Galags suddenly surge upward, their bodies glowing with energy as they grow noticeably larger in an instant, their excitement filling the air with vibrant life. The MC notices the creature's excitement, a surprised expression crossing his face as the little one emits a joyful cry, signaling the activation of a special ability. The creature's eyes shine intensely as the beast eye activates, revealing its rare subspecies status with extraordinary attack and defense stats, while its special ability and potential remain a mystery. A small white creature with bright blue eyes dashes swiftly across the snowy ground, leaving a trail of icy wind and sparkling snowflakes in its wake. The creature suddenly stops, its eyes wide and focused, as it floats gently in front of a young man with dark hair who looks at it with calm curiosity. The MC gazes upward, surprised, as he contemplates the creature's rare subspecies status, noting that the usual stat information in the beast eye now shows question marks, signaling something unknown. The MC speaks softly to the small creature, which looks back at him with shining, intense eyes, their connection deepening amid the glowing orchard and swirling snow. A small white creature dashes swiftly across the snowy ground, leaving a trail of icy wind and sparkling snowflakes as it moves with incredible speed. The black-haired young man looks up sharply, surprised by the creature's sudden, rapid movement as it soars through the air. His expression shifts to urgency as he calls out a name, his voice filled with concern and command. The small white creature, eyes glowing bright blue, launches forward with a burst of energy, surrounded by swirling icy winds. While the MC watches silently, anticipation and tension filling the air. The MC stands quietly amidst softly falling snow, his hands tucked into the pockets of his gray hoodie, as he wonders if someone nearby sensed a presence. He shifts his weight, preparing to move, his gaze fixed ahead as a faint blue energy begins to swirl around his feet. With a sudden burst, he steps forward, the glowing energy intensifying and crackling around his shoe as he launches into motion. His swift movement sends a powerful shock through the snowy orchard, causing the glowing blue fruits and surrounding foliage to tremble and scatter under the force. A figure in a beige coat sits alone on a snowy slope, the cold wind swirling snowflakes around him as he looks out over the vast, icy landscape. The black-haired young man bursts into a swift run, his movements fluid and powerful, accompanied by the small white creature with bright blue eyes darting alongside him, both leaving trails of icy wind in their wake. The tiny creature pants eagerly, its eyes sparkling with excitement as it races through the snow, closely following the MC's rapid strides, their speed creating a dynamic blur of motion and frost. The MC glances back with a gentle smile, acknowledging the creature's impressive speed as the blue energy swirls around them, his expression filled with admiration and warmth. A figure in a gray hoodie leaps powerfully into the air, accompanied by a small white creature with glowing blue eyes, both surrounded by swirling icy winds and snowflakes that scatter in their wake. The tiny creature darts forward at incredible speed, its eyes wide with determination as it cuts through the snowy air, leaving a trail of sparkling frost behind. The MC watches intently as the small white creature swiftly flies ahead, its glowing eyes fixed on a group of approaching dark, hulking figures and smaller goblin-like creatures gathering below. A group of startled elves, armed with wooden sticks, brace themselves as the dark creatures charge toward them, their expressions a mix of fear and resolve amid the falling snow. A pack of fierce, dark blue goblin-like creatures charge forward, roaring loudly with wide-open mouths and sharp teeth, their aggressive expressions filled with rage and determination. The small white creature with glowing blue eyes bursts into action, rushing headlong at the goblins with a powerful icy attack, startling a group of frightened fairies who watch helplessly nearby. The tiny creature lets out a fierce roar, its eyes blazing with energy as it spins rapidly, creating a whirlwind of icy wind that pushes back the advancing goblins and shields the fairies behind it. The group of pale-skinned fairies, their delicate wings trembling, watch in terror as the goblins continue their assault, their faces etched with fear and desperation as they plead silently for help. The MC stands surrounded by swirling blue energy and falling snow, contemplating a peculiar pack of earth spirits and wondering if Seol rushed here to protect them. The small white creature with glowing blue eyes faces off against a massive, serpentine beast, its mouth wide open in a fierce roar as snowflakes swirl around them. The protagonist, calm and thoughtful, remarks that even for a mythical beast, it seems too soon for her to confront an A-rank disaster species amid the snowy landscape. The enormous titanoboa rears up, its glowing blue eyes fierce and mouth agape, while a stat box reveals its rarity and powerful attributes, signaling a formidable threat. A massive serpentine beast roars fiercely, its mouth wide open and eyes glowing with intense energy, while a small white creature with bright blue eyes counters with its own fierce cry, both locked in a powerful confrontation. A close-up of the beast's snarling face reveals sharp teeth and glowing eyes, emphasizing its threatening presence as it prepares to strike. A hand rises with two fingers extended, commanding attention and signaling a decisive moment as snowflakes swirl gently in the background. The MC, surrounded by crackling purple energy, activates a powerful ability called Predatory Instinct, causing nearby monsters to recognize him as the supreme and ruthless apex predator of the world. A hand extends forward with two fingers raised, surrounded by crackling purple energy that twists and dances in the cold air, signaling the activation of a powerful ability. The energy lashes out violently, striking the ground near a group of serpentine creatures, causing snow and debris to scatter as the creatures recoil in shock and fear. The protagonist firmly grabs the head of one serpent, pulling its tongue with a stern expression as he warns it not to show its face or lurk around again, threatening to turn it into snake wine. Nearby, a group of pale-skinned fairies with wide, alarmed eyes watch the confrontation unfold, their expressions filled with shock and concern as the tension in the snowy forest rises. The protagonist fixes a stern gaze on the two-headed serpent before him, demanding an answer with unwavering authority as the creature trembles in response. With resolve, he declares his next move, his voice carrying the weight of command as the serpents recoil in anticipation. He shouts a powerful order for everyone to scatter, his voice echoing through the snowy landscape as the goblin-like creatures and the small white creature quickly leap away, startled and scrambling to obey. A large, imposing black rooster with glowing purple energy swirling around it stands defiantly amidst the chaos. Its fierce eyes locked on the surrounding goblins, radiating an aura of dominance and power. A large black rooster stands tall, surrounded by swirling purple energy that crackles ominously in the cold air. Its fierce eyes glowing with an intimidating power. The protagonist narrows his eyes in shock, sensing the presence of demonic energy emanating from the imposing creature before him. The rooster's form pulses with dark energy as a stat box reveals its species as a raptor, with low rarity and weak stats, yet its aura remains threatening and commanding. The small white creature with bright blue eyes leaps forward with fierce determination, spinning rapidly as icy wind whirls around it, ready to counter the dark energy with its own powerful attack. A dark vortex swirls ominously in the snowy landscape, drawing the attention of a large black rooster radiating demonic energy as it charges forward, its fierce eyes locked on the source of the disturbance. The surrounding air crackles with dark purple energy, hinting at a newly formed gate emitting a powerful, malevolent force. The small white creature with glowing blue eyes darts ahead, spinning rapidly as icy wind whips around it, clashing fiercely with the demonic rooster in a blur of motion and energy. Snow and shards of ice scatter violently as the two forces collide, their battle intensifying amid the cold air. The protagonist with dark hair follows closely behind the white creature, rushing toward the vortex with determination. He contemplates the appearance of this new monster species harboring demonic energy, wondering if it emerged from a recently formed gate that fills the surroundings with dark power. Leaping through the swirling snow and dark energy, the protagonist and the small creature close in on the vortex, his hand raised as if preparing to confront the source. He questions if this ominous presence could indeed be linked to the newly formed gate, the air thick with tension and the promise of an imminent clash. A young man crouches low with intense focus, his hand touching the ground as streaks of energy surge around him, and a small white creature with bright blue eyes stands alert beside him, both ready for battle. The words, "'Tis there a fiend here?" flash above them, signaling the tension of the moment. The protagonist turns sharply, his expression one of surprise as he notices something glowing nearby, while the small white creature's tail begins to shimmer with radiant light, hinting at a sudden change. The small creature's tail sparkles brilliantly, emitting a magical aura as a stat box appears, revealing it has acquired a new skill called Second Tail, which enhances its fighting instinct and accelerates its growth rate significantly, leaving the protagonist astonished at the creature's rapid development. 3 imposing black roosters with red crests and glowing purple energy leap forward through the dark forest, their fierce eyes and aggressive posture signaling an imminent attack as the surrounding air crackles with tension. A small white creature with bright blue eyes looks up eagerly, its mouth open in a joyful expression as it asks if it can join in the fun. Standing nearby, a young man with dark hair and a calm demeanor watches the creature with a gentle, thoughtful gaze. The protagonist reflects quietly, comparing the creature's spirited nature to someone named Seol-Hwa from his past, his eyes softening with the memory. He recalls training alongside Seol-Hwa long ago, kneeling beside the small creature as he reminisces about their shared experiences and growth through countless battles. The scene shifts to a powerful image of the protagonist standing confidently beside a majestic, glowing white wolf surrounded by swirling energy, symbolizing the strength and bond they forged through their many fights together. The small white creature gazes upward with bright, determined eyes as a swirling blue aura surrounds it, symbolizing its natural love for fighting and the energy that fuels its spirit. The protagonist sits quietly beside the creature, his expression somber and reflective as he admits his desire to raise Seol as a normal child, though he acknowledges the challenges ahead. His face tightens with resolve as he confesses that stopping Seol from fighting would be selfish, and instead, he chooses to accept her nature and the path they must walk together. With a calm yet firm voice, he declares the formation of a contract between them, sealing their bond and commitment to face whatever comes as partners. A hand extends gently toward the small white creature, a glowing blue ring of energy swirling around the fingers as the creature looks up with bright, joyful eyes, captivated by the magical aura. The hand moves closer, touching the creature's head softly, sending waves of sparkling blue energy that envelop it, while a determined voice promises to raise it to be the absolute best. The protagonist kneels in the snow, unleashing a powerful burst of blue energy from his hand that radiates outward in a dazzling explosion, signaling the start of a transformative moment. The energy intensifies as it strikes the creature's head, causing it to open its mouth in surprise and awe, surrounded by crackling blue lightning that marks the beginning of its awakening. The protagonist gently smiles as he offers a portion of his mana to the small white creature, whose bright blue eyes widen with excitement and anticipation. A glowing blue ring of energy begins to form around the protagonist's finger, swirling with magical power as it manifests from their contract. His intense gaze sharpens as the ring solidifies on his hand, crackling with energy, while a caption explains that this is the contract ring, a symbol that appears on the master when forming a pact with a magical beast. The protagonist encourages the creature to fight freely and with passion, releasing a surge of energy that propels the small beast forward, its eyes shining with determination and joy as it leaps into action. The small white creature darts swiftly through the dark forest, its body glowing with radiant energy as it evades the aggressive black roosters circling below, their red crests and fierce eyes locked onto their target. One of the roosters lunges forward with a wide-open beak, screaming fiercely as it attempts to strike, its sharp tongue and menacing glare emphasizing the danger closing in. The focus shifts to the intense connection between the protagonist and the small creature, their eyes reflecting each other's determined gaze as a swirling blue energy links them, activating the innate ability called sensory transfer. In a sudden clash, the small white beast collides headfirst with one of the black roosters, both surrounded by crackling energy as their powerful impact echoes through the night, signaling the fierce battle underway. A young man with intense eyes urges patience, warning not to rush the moment as a streak of blue energy trails behind him. The small white creature, glowing with a radiant aura, pauses mid-air, its bright blue eyes focused and alert. The protagonist commands decisively, his voice sharp and commanding, signaling the precise moment to act. The white creature lunges fiercely, swirling with energy as it strikes the aggressive black rooster, whose beak snaps open in a fierce cry. The small white creature leaps onto the back of the startled black rooster, its body glowing with radiant energy as dark, shadowy tendrils swirl around them both. A powerful burst of blue energy surges from the creature, striking the rooster with overwhelming force, sending it crashing backward with a fierce impact. The white beast's eyes blaze with intense light as it absorbs the demonic energy from its defeated opponent, activating its inherited ability called Overwhelm, which allows it to draw power from subduing enemies. The black rooster, now subdued and panting, looks back in surprise as the small creature perches triumphantly on its back, the dark energy dissipating around them. The small white creature's bright blue eyes widen sharply as it senses danger, its gaze locking onto the approaching threat with fierce determination. A large black rooster with vivid red feathers dives swiftly from above, dark energy swirling ominously around it as it prepares to strike. The white creature rockets forward, encased in a glowing blue aura, colliding headfirst with the attacking rooster in a burst of radiant energy and forceful impact. Spinning rapidly, the small beast maneuvers with agility, delivering a powerful blow that sends the rooster reeling backward, their intense battle illuminated by crackling blue and purple energy. A young man watches intently, sweat forming on his face, as he acknowledges the sharpness of Silua's movements in her first real fight. His voice carries a mix of surprise and admiration. The small white creature leaps boldly onto a black rooster, its bright blue eyes gleaming with confidence as the rooster's beak snaps open in shock and pain. The black rooster screeches loudly, its eyes wide with panic as it tries to shake off the white creature clinging to it, the air filled with tension and rapid movement. The white creature lets out a fierce battle cry, energy crackling around it as it prepares to unleash a powerful attack, determination blazing in its eyes. A small white creature is enveloped in swirling blue energy, its eyes wide with shock and determination as the magical power crackles fiercely around it. The creature transforms dramatically, lightning striking down as it reveals its true form. A majestic white fang with an SS rarity, exceptional attack and defense stats, and unknown special abilities and potential. The white fang's glowing blue contract ring pulses brightly around its neck, symbolizing the bond with its master, as the protagonist and sharp purple eyes calls out gently, reflecting on how quickly children grow up. The small white creature, now fully charged with energy, braces itself with glowing eyes, ready to respond to the call and face whatever challenge lies ahead. A small white creature with bright blue eyes beams with pride, its fur glowing faintly as it eagerly asks if it did well. The protagonist with dark navy blue hair and sharp purple eyes exhales in relief, warmly praising the creature for doing wonderfully. He crouches beside the small beast, suggesting they hurry home before the gate closes, his expression gentle and encouraging. Suddenly, dark energy swirls behind him as he commands the black roosters to wake up, his gaze calm but firm while one startled rooster lies on the ground. A young man with dark hair and a pale hoodie stands calmly amidst swirling purple energy, watching two black roosters with wide, startled eyes as they recoil in shock and confusion. The small white creature beside them looks up with a cheerful expression, seemingly unfazed by the ominous aura. The protagonist smiles gently, noting that anyone without demonic energy must be a friend, while the two black roosters laugh nervously, their tense posture easing as they interact with the small white creature. The dark energy continues to flicker around them, but the mood lightens. Suddenly, the protagonist commands everyone to run, urgency flashing in his eyes as he dashes forward with the three black roosters and the small white creature trailing swiftly behind him, all enveloped in streaks of glowing energy. They burst through the swirling darkness as the protagonist leaps powerfully, cutting through the shadowy tendrils with a glowing strike, leading the group away from the encroaching demonic energy that threatens to consume the snowy landscape. A figure slides swiftly down a snowy slope, the cold wind whipping around him as snowflakes scatter through the air. From a distant vantage point, a dark vortex swirls violently against the clear blue sky, fragments of shadowy energy spiraling outward in a chaotic dance. The vortex continues to twist and expand, its edges blurring as it pulls in the surrounding air and debris, growing more intense and ominous. The MC exhales sharply, planting his foot firmly in the snow as he braces himself, while numerous hands rise eagerly into the air, voices shouting in excitement at the return of someone long awaited. The protagonist turns sharply, his expression one of surprise as he looks towards something unexpected. The small white creature in his arms mirroring his shock with wide, bright blue eyes. A group of joyful fairies, their delicate wings shimmering softly, raise their hands in unison, tears of happiness streaming down their faces as they express heartfelt gratitude to an unseen figure, petals floating gently around them in celebration. The protagonist, still holding the small white creature, looks slightly bewildered but amused, questioning the title of Absolute One with a nervous smile, while the creature beams up at him with innocent excitement, surrounded by a flurry of soft petals. The young man kneels on the snowy ground, surrounded by black roosters and small fairies who raise their hands in joyous celebration, shouting out a reverent title with petals swirling through the air. His expression shifts to one of surprise and slight confusion as the small white creature on his shoulder looks up at him, while the fairies continue to cheer, naming him and the guardian deity with heartfelt gratitude. A fairy steps forward, startled yet curious, questioning how the young man speaks human language and whether he used magic to do so, her wings shimmering softly in the winter light. The young man, still holding the small white creature, responds thoughtfully, asking if the fairy is referring to someone named Seol. When mentioning the titles Absolute One and Silver White Fang, his gaze steady and calm amid the falling snow. A small white creature with sparkling blue eyes looks up curiously, its expression filled with innocent wonder as hands reach out toward it in awe. A blonde fairy with bright blue eyes and pointed ears smiles warmly, explaining that in their homeland, the fairy tale of the Toon world, the White Fangs have been worshipped as guardian deities since ancient times, with the silver white fangs being especially revered. Behind her, other fairies beam with joy and admiration. The scene shifts to a dramatic confrontation between a majestic silver white Fang wolf with 5 tails and a fierce, fiery corpse dragon, illustrating the legend of the silver white Fang who saved their country from this terrifying beast, highlighting their strength and kindness. The blonde fairy excitedly asks if the name Seol belongs to the silver white Fang, emphasizing how these beings are considered legends to their people, while the small white creature looks on with a puzzled yet intrigued expression. The young man watches with a nervous smile as a group of fairies begin a lively dance, announcing the start of a celebration in honor of the Absolute One. His expression reveals a mix of amusement and slight bewilderment at their peculiar enthusiasm. A blonde fairy with bright blue eyes and pointed ears beams warmly, explaining that the fairy tale of the Toon world reveres the silver white fangs as guardian deities, especially the one known as the Absolute One. She gestures excitedly, surrounded by other joyful fairies. The young man reflects thoughtfully on the unique fairy before him, noting her crown and ability to communicate unlike other earth spirits, which sets her apart as some form of royalty among her kind. With a curious gaze, he directly asks the small white creature perched on his shoulder if she holds a royal status, his tone filled with genuine intrigue as the creature looks back at him with wide, sparkling eyes. A blonde elf princess swiftly turns, her long hair flowing as she reacts with urgency and determination. She speaks softly but firmly, revealing her identity as Johanna, the youngest princess of the Earth Spirit clan, acknowledging the impossibility of hiding anything from the Absolute One. The MC smiles gently, denying that his insight comes from being the Absolute One, while the small white creature beside him laughs joyfully. Johanna looks out over a darkened, corrupted landscape, explaining how the territory she was granted has recently transformed into a dangerous dungeon, her expression filled with concern as 2 other earth spirits stand behind her. A blonde fairy with delicate wings falls through a swirling vortex of purple and blue energy, her arms flailing as she cries out in shock, surrounded by smaller fairies also caught in the chaotic descent. Tears stream down the blonde fairy's face as she explains that it has been 3 days since monsters attacked and stole their dungeon, her voice trembling with fear while other fairies behind her sob quietly. The MC rests his chin on his hand, contemplating the dire situation as he asks if they have nowhere to go and are starving to death, his expression serious yet calm amid the falling snow. The blonde fairy nervously smiles and admits that he has perfectly understood their plight, addressing him as the Absolute One, while a smaller fairy beside her bows her head in embarrassment. A peaceful winter scene reveals a snow-covered orchard glowing faintly with blue lights, as a voice explains that an earth spirit dungeon called the Orchard lies near their home. The MC, accompanied by a small white creature on his shoulder, offers a place to stay in the orchard, his expression gentle but slightly uneasy. A group of joyful fairies, led by a blonde elf princess, raise their hands in unison, praising the young man as the absolute one, and begging him to accept their absolute worship with tears of happiness streaming down their faces. The young man, now seated and wearing a gray hoodie, raises a hand to stop the overwhelming adoration, nervously telling them to stop bowing as the small white creature watches the scene with wide, sparkling eyes. The young man, deep in thought, questions if all the princesses in the fairytale realm behave like this, noting how one acts more like a devoted maid who loves to bow. A sudden rush of icy wind sweeps across the snowy landscape, swirling with intense energy and sparkling frost. From the blizzard, a majestic silver-white Fang wolf bursts forth, charging powerfully through the snow with fierce determination. The blonde elf princess and two other earth spirits in a hot spring turn their heads in surprise, sensing something unexpected approaching. A figure slides swiftly down a snowy slope, the cold wind whipping around him as snowflakes scatter in his wake. Suddenly, a majestic silver-white Fang wolf bursts forth, its glowing blue eyes fierce and surrounded by swirling icy energy as it charges forward with unstoppable force. Nearby, a blonde elf princess and two other earth spirits in a hot spring react with shock and alarm, their eyes wide and mouths open in surprise at the sudden appearance. The MC watches with a nervous smile as the small fairies cling excitedly to his large hand, their joyful voices exclaiming how amazing the experience is, while he sweats slightly, overwhelmed by their enthusiasm. A figure slides swiftly down a snowy slope, the cold wind whipping around him as snowflakes scatter in his wake. The young man, holding tightly onto a large, fierce white wolf, tries to calm it by insisting that their companion Munchie is a good boy, even as the wolf growls and charges forward with icy energy. The young man's hand reaches into his pocket, pulling out a sleek smartphone that vibrates with incoming notifications. The phone screen lights up with a new message alert, revealing a lively chat group where several contacts greet the young man, Kang-ho, with friendly messages and teasing remarks about his typing skills. The MC, holding a smartphone, smiles knowingly as the small white creature perched on his shoulder looks on with bright eyes, while he remarks that the situation is definitely the work of Choi. In a warmly lit room, an older man with gray hair and a beard excitedly takes a photo with his phone, his expression full of enthusiasm as the young man gently holds the small white creature in his hands, sharing a quiet moment. The older man, now with a lit cigar clenched between his teeth, grins widely as he explains to the young man that this is modern technology, clearly impressed by the device in his hand. A close-up of the smartphone screen reveals a lively chat conversation where two contacts, Sword God Junwoo and Bao God Ho Young, exchange fierce messages about a confrontation at MT Bukhansan, their words filled with challenge and threat. The MC reflects on how conflicts have always erupted the moment old comrades meet, a knowing smile crossing his face as he holds his smartphone. Memories flash back to a fierce battle scene where two angry men shout at the young man, who covers his ears in frustration, recalling these friends as his comrades from the Great War. The narration reveals that these comrades are celebrated as the 5 war heroes in modern textbooks, while a powerful white wolf with ethereal energy stands prominently amidst the chaos. The young man, now resolved, smiles warmly and decides it is time to visit his old friends, motivated by his determination to raise their shared child, to be the best. A figure slides rapidly down a snowy slope, snowflakes swirling around him as the cold wind rushes past. The MC looks down warmly at a small white creature with bright blue eyes, promising to prepare the best training for her. A smartphone screen lights up with a message from Beast Kang-ho, simply saying hey, accompanied by a notification sound. A lively crowd gathers at MT Bukhansan, cheering and capturing the moment on their phones as two announcers excitedly declare the live broadcast from the mountain, while two figures leap energetically atop rocky peaks under a bright blue sky. News spreads quickly that 2 of the 5 war heroes, the Sword God and Bao God, are clashing over rankings, instantly drawing a massive crowd eager to witness the event. The excited crowd cheers loudly, many raising their phones to capture the moment, their faces alight with joy and anticipation under the clear blue sky. Standing on a rocky peak, a calm figure with long silver hair tied back and multiple swords at his waist is introduced as Park Junwoo, the Sword God, ranked 20th in the world. A close-up reveals the older, stern-faced warrior known by the codename Sword God Park Junwoo, his intense gaze reflecting the weight of his legendary status. The fierce archer known as Bao God Kim Ho-young stands confidently on a rocky peak, his bow in hand, his sharp gaze piercing the sky as his rank 21 is announced. A close-up reveals the stern, determined face of Kim Ho-young, his codename boldly declared to the cheering crowd. A man in a red jacket pushes past a startled young man, apologizing as he makes his way through the crowd. Flames swirl around a striking woman with long red hair and violet eyes. The flame which Lee Min-dash, who has just arrived, igniting excitement and cheers from the onlookers who shout their love and support. The woman with long red hair covers her face in frustration as the crowd behind her enthusiastically howls, urging everyone to join in the noise. She questions how long the fighting will continue, clearly tired of the ongoing conflict. The older warrior with silver-gray hair tied back shouts fiercely, declaring that there will be no takebacks in their battle, his expression fierce and determined. The man with dark hair and a small goatee retorts angrily, calling the older man a senile old fart and warning that it will be him who ends up taking a beating, his voice filled with fiery resolve. A close-up of a dark-haired figure with glowing golden eyes reveals his intense glare as he mutters that this opponent simply refuses to quit, his expression cold and unyielding. The silver-haired warrior, his hair tied back in a high ponytail, grips his sword tightly as golden sparks fly around him, warning that the consequences are his opponent's own fault and not to blame his blade. With fierce determination, the man with the short ponytail and goatee charges forward, his weapon glowing with blue energy as he boldly invites his rival to come at him without hesitation. A woman with long red hair and sharp purple eyes watches the battle unfold calmly, noting that old habits die hard and neither combatant has changed their ways. She then raises her hand confidently, officially declaring the fight a ranking match and announcing herself as the guarantor, Lee Min-dash, known by the codename Flame. A glowing arrow streaks through the bright blue sky, spinning with ethereal energy as it descends rapidly. The sharp-eyed woman with long red hair glances upward, curiosity piqued by the arrow's sudden appearance, quietly murmuring a questioning sound. The arrow continues its swift descent, drawing the wide-eyed attention and excited smiles of a gathered crowd below, their faces lit with anticipation. The MC channels a powerful blue aura, thrusting his hands forward as energy bursts forth, lifting him into the air with a small white creature perched on his head, ready to confront whatever challenge awaits. The MC descends rapidly down the snowy slope, a small white creature perched atop his head as the crowd in the foreground watches with wide, excited smiles. The woman with long red hair and sharp purple eyes turns with a confident smile, announcing that today's ranking match must be cancelled. The silver-haired warrior shouts in disbelief, gripping his sword tightly as he insists they have passed the point of no return. The red-haired woman calmly questions how they can consider stopping when Kang-ho is right there, her expression composed and unwavering. The older warrior with silver-gray hair and a small goatee suddenly reacts with wide eyes and shock as a glowing golden arrow streaks dangerously close. His expression shifts to disbelief and alarm as he calls out the name Kang-ho, recognizing the unexpected presence. Amidst the crowd, a single hand rises confidently, signaling a significant moment as onlookers watch intently. The protagonist warmly, a small white creature perched atop his head, calmly acknowledging the crowd as he prepares to engage. A confident woman with long red hair and sharp purple eyes looks forward as two men behind her, one with a high ponytail and multiple swords at his waist, and another with spiky gray hair, exchange heated words, questioning the strange white creature perched atop the young man's head. The MC smiles warmly, speaking gently about enjoying good food and shopping with the older men, his tone light and inviting. The small white creature atop the young man's head looks up with wide, sparkling blue eyes, clearly puzzled and curious about the mention of shopping, its expression innocent and full of wonder. Under a swirling night sky, a large group of warriors stands in formation within a traditional courtyard, their raised swords cutting through the cold air as the title, Sword God and Sword Ghost, appears, setting a solemn tone. A young man clad in dark training robes leads the group, his sword raised high as he shouts commands, surrounded by his equally determined disciples, all training intensely beneath the stars. Inside a dimly lit warehouse filled with rows of medicinal herbs, the atmosphere is thick with the scent of rare plants, the quiet space dedicated to preserving valuable resources for healing and enhancement. A close-up reveals a glowing bundle of green herbs known as moonsalt, a precious medicinal item that boosts a herb monster's mana, its rarity and cost underscored by the reverent question about its presence. The MC smiles gently as he watches the small white creature on his shoulder attempt to eat a glowing bundle of green herbs, gently correcting its awkward approach. An older warrior with long gray hair tied back and a goatee explains that the herb's appearance is identical to someone named Seol-hwa, instructing the MC to take all the roots and feed her well, while the MC asks if 20 roots will be enough. Suddenly, a man with a shocked expression bursts in, shouting that Nightmare has just raided the entire warehouse, causing alarm and urgency among the group. The older warrior, now shouting with a mix of frustration and resolve, declares he was prepared to give the herbs to the MC anyway, who calmly thanks him in return, the small white creature still perched on his shoulder. An older man with long gray hair tied back and a goatee smiles warmly, inviting the MC to visit often if he is grateful. The protagonist, with a small white creature perched on his shoulder, responds with a gentle and confident promise that he will. A man with spiky gray hair and a mischievous grin gestures enthusiastically, noting that since the MC has come for the first time in 15 years, a special occasion is warranted. A table is set with an array of delicious dishes and several bottles of soju, signaling a festive meal being prepared to welcome the guest. Two older warriors with gray hair and goatees grin mischievously, declaring they will drink 15 years' worth of soju, teasing the protagonist about how much he drank with another man named Chulbe. The MC, with a small white creature resting on his shoulder, responds awkwardly, questioning why only their appearances have aged so much despite their drinking habits. A dark silhouette commands urgency, telling Kang-ho and the others to drink quickly because they are aging even at that moment, emphasizing the need to hurry despite their advanced age. The next day dawns bright and clear over the Seoul Bank building, signaling a shift in scene and time. A pair of polished black shoes hit the pavement with quick, purposeful steps as someone approaches briskly down a corridor. A nervous man in a suit and glasses bows deeply, sweating as he welcomes a returning customer after a long absence, promising to escort them to the VIP room immediately. The protagonist, with a small white creature perched on his shoulder, politely requests to withdraw some mana stones and tells the man he can stop bowing now, appearing slightly embarrassed. Smiling slyly, the MC explains that to go shopping, they'll need to get some money, prompting a curious reaction from the small creature as he teases about the unfamiliar term, mana stones. A man in glasses warmly informs the protagonist that the armory next to the mana stone storage room remains unchanged and invites him to use it freely, while a guard stands alert in the background. Outside, the bright sky shines over the Seoul Bank building as a man on a motorcycle revs the engine, preparing to move through the city streets. The man on the motorcycle glances back toward the bank entrance, where the MC with the small white creature on his shoulder walks out alongside a suited escort, the bank's name visible behind them. The suited man thanks the MC politely, urging him to visit again, as several staff bow deeply in the background, while the MC walks calmly with the small white creature perched on his shoulder. A man with slicked-back dark hair and sunglasses smirks confidently while sitting on a motorcycle in a busy city street, curious about the value of something that required employees to go to great lengths. He adjusts his glasses, revealing a high-tech lens that activates with a click, displaying a reflection of a suited man holding a briefcase in the lens. A digital interface explains the device as a mana stone detector combined with a mana detection lens, capable of penetrating objects to reveal the grade and amount of mana stones detected, showing 2 C-grade and 3 D-grade mana stones in the briefcase. The man on the motorcycle scowls in frustration, muttering that despite the man's fancy appearance, he is actually very poor, questioning why bank employees bow to him, when suddenly he notices something surprising. The protagonist stands confidently with a small white creature perched on his shoulder, as a digital interface reveals 3 S-grade mana stones glowing in his pants pocket. Another scan highlights additional mana stones, 2 A-grade and 5 B-grade, also stored in his pocket, emphasizing the impressive quantity. A man with slicked-back hair and sunglasses reacts with shock, exclaiming that the MC carries nearly 1.6 billion in cash stuffed casually into his pockets, unable to believe such wealth is carried so carelessly. Sitting on a motorcycle nearby, the man wonders aloud if the MC is an S-grade hunter, questioning the source of his vast mana and wealth as the cityscape stretches behind him. The MC stands calmly with a small white creature perched on his shoulder as a digital scan overlays his profile, revealing that his mana level cannot be measured. The scan triggers a shocked reaction, questioning if he is non-awakened. The MC walks away down a quiet city street, the small creature still resting on his shoulder, bathed in soft daylight with tall buildings looming ahead. A man with slicked-back hair and sunglasses smirks confidently, adjusting his glasses as he remarks that the MC has no entourage, likening him to a walking lottery ticket. Sitting astride a motorcycle under a bright sky, the same man announces to his boss that a total jackpot has hit in Yeongdongpo, signaling a significant event with a confident grin. The MC, a backpack slung over one shoulder, offers a skewer of food to the small white creature perched on him, while a man on a motorcycle watches from a distance. He wonders aloud if there is only one place where such a vast amount of mana stones would be used. The motorcycle rider grips the handlebar tightly, determination clear as he follows the MC walking ahead through the city streets, affirming that they will continue to track him. The scene shifts to a dimly lit, cluttered street in Yeongdongpo's 12th district, filled with faded signs and a quiet atmosphere, setting the location for the pursuit. The MC quietly opens the door to a small, nondescript building under a striped awning, stepping inside as the night deepens around him. Inside a dimly lit room filled with shelves and hanging herbs, the protagonist and a small white creature perched on his shoulder stands calmly, while a figure with long white hair and glasses sits nearby, acknowledging the MC's return after many years. They debate whether it has been 10 or 15 years since his last visit. The white-haired figure leans forward, eyes shadowed and intense, remarking that the MC named Mungchi must have grown into an absolute monster by now, and hints at the significance of what is about to be raised this time. A close-up of the white-haired figure's sharp eyes behind glasses reveals a gleam of recognition as they mention a silver-white Fang, questioning if it is a descendant of Seolhwa. The MC smiles gently, the small white creature on his shoulder crackling with blue energy as he explains that while she is indeed related, she is a subspecies, subtly distinguishing her from Seolhwa. An elder with long lavender hair, cat ears, and glasses reflects on living over 100 years as a member of the beastkin tribe. Admitting this is the first time witnessing a subspecies of a mythical beast and expressing gratitude for the rare experience. The elder's face is illuminated by a soft light as they solemnly wish the Beast King to raise the best battle beast once again this time. The protagonist smiles gently, the small white creature on his shoulder looking up at him with bright, sparkling eyes, sharing a quiet moment of warmth. The scene shifts to a bustling indoor market filled with various anthropomorphic figures, where Mungchi walks forward carrying a large backpack, the small white creature still perched on his shoulder, as a caption marks the time. 50 years after daybreak. The protagonist stands with a small white creature perched on his shoulder, surrounded by various anthropomorphic figures who gaze at him curiously, while a question lingers in the air about why they are different. A narration explains that diverse races crossed over to Earth from another dimension called the Mu continent, settling on this street and creating their own unique culture, as two smiling anthropomorphic figures stand nearby. The scene shifts to a striking woman with long dark red hair holding a flag, identified as the Flame Witch, one of the 5 war heroes' races, her presence marked by a mystical purple aura swirling around her. 2 women, one with silver hair and the other with short red hair, are shown in profile as the narration reveals that the Flame Witch is a magical race that spends 80% of their lives in a youthful form, highlighting their extraordinary nature. A tall, sturdy tower emits thick smoke against a dusky sky as the protagonist and a small white creature on his shoulder stands before it, the caption revealing this as another representative race of the Mu continent. Inside a bustling workshop, a cheerful dwarf blacksmith with a white beard and goggles waves enthusiastically, greeting the MC by name while the caption identifies him as the owner of the smith weapon workshop. The MC and the dwarf walk side by side through the wooden interior, the blacksmith asking if he found everything he was searching for, to which the MC replies that it was mostly complete. 2 dwarves hammer away at glowing metal, sparks flying as the blacksmith asks if business has been busy lately, explaining that orders from the Nappa and White Knight guilds have piled up, making the workshop a chaotic but lively place. The MC with dark hair, carrying a small white creature on his shoulder, politely asks if he can request a favor, subtly revealing a glowing bracelet on his wrist. The bracelet emits a bright blue aura, catching the attention of an older dwarf with a white beard, who recognizes it immediately. The dwarf excitedly explains that the glowing item is an aura blade, and wonders if something has happened to this treasured weapon. Meanwhile, the MC clarifies that he only recently took it out again after 15 years and was considering asking for maintenance, but notices the dwarf is busy. The dwarf laughs heartily, assuring that any request from the MC is always the highest priority, proudly declaring that dwarves never forget a favor as the workshop bustles behind them. The rhythmic clang of hammer strikes echoes through the workshop as the sturdy dwarf blacksmith raises his hammer high, rallying his fellow craftsmen to prioritize Master Choi Kang-ho's item above all else, their unified shouts filling the air with spirited energy. The protagonist chuckles softly, brushing a hand through his hair in a familiar gesture, while the small white creature on his shoulder stretches and yawns, both sharing a light-hearted moment amidst the busy forge. Outside, the evening sky darkens as smoke rises from the chimneys of the workshop, the steady pounding of hammers resonating through the quiet town, signaling the relentless dedication within. Meanwhile, in a shadowed alley, 3 men clad in dark tactical gear peer intently at a screen, discussing the recent purchases made before entering the dwarf workshop, rare and costly items like century-old Vialga roots and the Stone of Citra, prompting disbelief at the extravagant expense. 2 men clad in dark tactical gear, one wearing sunglasses and the other a black mask, discuss their plan to ambush the MC as soon as he leaves the workshop, their expressions filled with confidence and anticipation. A caption identifies them as members of the Awakener gang raiders. A glowing ring inscribed with mysterious runes floats in the air, surrounded by ethereal blue flames, as the MC reflects on the slight improvements he made while performing maintenance on it. The MC's hand, adorned with the glowing ring, emits a swirling blue aura as an older dwarf with a white beard eagerly offers to let him test the enhancements, explaining that the ring will make it easier to handle mana and increase maximum output. The MC firmly declines the offer, a confident smile on his face as he explains he won't need to test it now because he expects an opportunity to use it soon, while the small white creature on his shoulder looks on with wide, curious eyes. The MC waves goodbye to 2 dwarves standing at the workshop entrance, their faces beaming with warmth and respect as they return his gesture with a bow and a wave. A motorcycle roars to life, kicking up dust and shadows in the dimly lit street, as the MC begins to walk briskly down a narrow alley, unaware of the lurking figures watching him from the darkness. Suddenly, 3 men clad in tactical gear leap into action, their swords flashing with blue energy as they surround the MC, launching a coordinated attack with fierce determination. Calm and composed, the MC glances back over his shoulder, asking if everyone has emerged safely, while one of the masked assailants stands ready behind him, tension thick in the cold night air. 2 men clad in dark tactical gear, one wearing sunglasses and the other with sideburns and round glasses, sneer aggressively, mocking the MC by accusing him of bluffing as a non-awakened. The MC calmly responds, questioning if they used a mana detection lens to judge him, his expression composed and unshaken. He continues, pointing out that the measurable mana limit was capped at 100,000, implying they mistakenly assumed he was non-awakened based on that false reading. The man with round glasses sweats nervously, stammering an uneasy confirmation, while internally panicking at the MC's relaxed demeanor, realizing the situation might be far more dangerous than anticipated. The man with round glasses nervously insists there are only about 3 awakened fighters in the country with combat power over 100,000, none of whom he doesn't know, warning his comrades not to be fooled by the MC's bluff. With a sharp glare, he commands an immediate attack. The protagonist stands calmly as 2 attackers leap toward him, their movements swift and determined. The MC observes quietly, noting that everyone has emerged safely, while blue mana swirls around his wrists, illuminating the night with an ethereal glow. He contemplates the situation, preparing for what comes next. Concentrating, the MC summons the power of the aura blade, releasing a brilliant surge of blue energy that crackles and dances around him, signaling the start of his counterattack. The MC stands resolute as blue energy crackles and swirls fiercely around his arms, illuminating the night with an intense glow. He calmly announces the activation of his aura blade, signaling the start of his powerful counterattack. 2 attackers clad in tactical gear leap toward him with swords drawn, their faces shocked and alarmed at the sudden surge of energy emanating from their opponent. A sweeping wave of blue energy lashes out violently, sending the 2 assailants flying backward through the air, their weapons slipping from their grasp as they scream in pain. The protagonist remains composed and focused, his piercing gaze unwavering as the blue aura pulses around him, while the defeated attackers crash to the ground behind him, overwhelmed by the force of his attack. A man with slicked back hair and sideburns, wearing sunglasses and tactical gear, sweats nervously as he shouts in disbelief. The MC stands confidently, surrounded by crackling blue energy, with a digital display above him reading mana, unmeasured. The man with round glasses peers intensely, questioning if the protagonist's combat power truly exceeds 100,000 despite the unmeasurable reading. The protagonist raises his hand, energy swirling fiercely around him, as a caption reveals the shock that another monster of such power exists. The shattered fragments of a pair of glasses scatter as a sharp blue energy streaks past, narrowly missing the man's intense gaze. Surrounded by glowing shards, the MC's piercing eyes meet the stunned question hanging in the air, his aura radiating a fierce, unyielding power. A close-up reveals a glowing ring pulsing with blue energy on the protagonist's wrist, the source of the swirling mana that envelopes him. A hand holds up a phone displaying a wanted poster for Lee Young-myung, leader of the Raiders gang, his menacing smirk framed by the bold red letters above. The protagonist, holding a phone that displays a wanted poster for Lee Young-myung, reflects on the gang called Raiders, a former executive of the notorious White Knight, known for robbery, kidnapping, and murder, acknowledging how busy they've been. A man drenched in sweat, his face tense and determined, decides to retreat, admitting that his opponent is too strong to face at the moment. Suddenly, the man activates his innate ability, Assassin, his eyes glowing fiercely as purple energy swirls violently around him, signaling a surge of power and aggression. The unleashed energy takes the form of sharp, twisting purple blades slicing through the air amidst the towering city buildings, marking the start of a fierce and deadly assault. A man with a rugged face and sideburns clenches his fist, surrounded by swirling purple energy, declaring that he has never been caught by an enemy while using his ability. The protagonist, glowing blue energy around him, questions why the former White Knight executive, whose ability is somewhat decent, is living in such a state, as the rugged man reacts with shock. The protagonist swiftly swings his arm, releasing a sharp blue slash that strikes the rugged man, who screams in pain, his purple aura flickering violently. A powerful purple energy beam crashes into the ground between tall buildings, sending a massive explosion of dust and debris into the air, marking the devastating impact of the attack. A man cloaked in swirling purple energy groans in pain, slumped against a wall amid scattered debris, reflecting bitterly on his ranking as a top-tier domestic fighter. Determined, he launches a powerful kick enveloped in the same fierce purple aura, vowing never to lower his guard again. With a knife in hand and energy crackling around him, he aggressively calls out, searching desperately for his opponent in the dimly lit alley. Calm and composed, a young man with dark hair raises his glowing hand, revealing his presence and surprising the attacker with a quiet declaration that he is right there. The protagonist swiftly dodges a large serrated knife descending toward him, blue energy crackling fiercely around his arm as he prepares to counterattack. The force of his movement sends a powerful shockwave, striking an opponent hard enough to send him crashing to the ground, his face contorted in pain. A glowing hand clenches tightly, blue energy swirling around the wrist as the knife is flung away, accompanied by a warning not to wield such a dangerous weapon recklessly. With a swift, glowing slash, the protagonist shatters the knife midair, shards scattering as he moves with precision and overwhelming power through the narrow alley. Blue energy streaks violently through the night, striking a man who screams in agony as he is thrown backward against a building. The man, now shirtless and battered, writhes in pain, dark energy swirling ominously around him as he struggles to rise amid the debris. Calm and composed, the MC with a glowing blue aura clenches his fist, praising the improvements in his mana efficiency and strength control, while a small white creature reaches up to his arm. The injured man groans in pain, leaning heavily on a wall as the protagonist warns him not to touch the dangerous glowing energy emanating from his hand. The MC, his wrist glowing with blue energy, observes the older man carefully, noting that he appears to be over 50 and likely belongs to the war generation. His expression sharpens as he questions the older man's motives for continuing to fight after surviving such a brutal war, seeking to understand the reason behind his actions. The battered man, trembling and exhausted, struggles to remain upright, his body marked by bruises and dirt as he begins to explain his feelings about the current state of the world. With a wild, almost manic grin, the older man confesses that the peaceful world is unbearably dull, lacking the bloodshed and carnage that once gave his life meaning, driving him to the brink of madness from sheer boredom. The protagonist reflects quietly, acknowledging that there are people whose humanity was shattered by the long war. A shirtless, battered man with wild eyes and a manic grin laughs darkly, embodying those broken by the conflict. Flashbacks reveal warriors addicted to the brutal carnage of battle, their descent into criminality marked by bloodied weapons and savage fights against monstrous foes. Another fierce fighter, eyes blazing with madness, swings a heavy weapon down on a terrified opponent, symbolizing the lunatics born from war, one of the many dark truths the current era desperately tries to conceal. A wild-eyed man with a battered face taunts, questioning if the other relates to the broken souls he mentioned. The protagonist with dark hair remains silent, his expression unreadable as he listens intently. Against the backdrop of a serene sunset, a voice recalls a friend met long ago, hinting at a significant connection. In a peaceful outdoor setting, an older man with silver hair and a goatee raises a glass, expressing surprise that the friend was actually Choi Kang-ho, sharing a quiet moment with a younger man holding a bottle. A silver-haired man with a goatee raises a glass with a teasing smile, questioning if it's really so surprising that Kang-ho looks young while the other man's master aged terribly. The younger man nervously begins to respond. The protagonist, holding a bottle, explains that the master seemed to have a gentle temperament despite being a legendary war hero, his expression showing a mix of respect and unease. The older man takes a slow sip from his glass, acknowledging the description with a knowing smile and suggesting that the master might indeed look that way now. The protagonist's face tightens in thought as he quietly admits that there is more to the story, hinting at deeper truths yet to be revealed. An older man with silver-gray hair tied back takes a slow sip from a cup, smirking as he comments on Kang-ho's notoriously bad temper, especially when dealing with criminals. The battered man, eyes wide with a mix of fear and realization, reacts sharply to the suggestion that he despises the peaceful era because it's dull and uneventful. The MC, surrounded by swirling blue energy, clenches his glowing fist and declares that if one is tired of peace, there are other paths to consider. The older man's expression hardens as he warns that there is no more foolish way to commit suicide, his gaze sharp and unyielding. The MC unleashes a fierce punch, blue energy trailing his fist as it crashes into the battered man's face, sending blood and debris flying through the narrow alley. The older man grimaces in pain, his wild eyes wide with shock. The young fighter swiftly follows up, his glowing fist striking again with a burst of blue energy, forcing the older man to recoil as he narrowly dodges a deadly attack. The alley is filled with the crackling sound of energy and the tension of their brutal confrontation. With precise speed, the protagonist delivers another powerful blow, his glowing fist connecting with the older man's face, whose expression twists in agony as he is pushed back by the relentless assault. The blue energy swirls around the combatant, illuminating the grim scene. Blood splatters as the protagonist, drenched in rain and glowing with fierce blue energy, declares that if the older man is tired of peace, he will give him exactly what he wants, his determined gaze cutting through the stormy night. The older man's face is slammed violently by a glowing blue fist, blood splattering as the force of the punch drives him backward in brutal impact. A powerful explosion of blue energy erupts against a wall, sending debris and dust flying as the young fighter's assault shakes the surroundings with overwhelming force. A phone screen lights up with an incoming video call from Choi Kang-ho, the display showing his confident, smirking portrait as the call rings persistently. The silver-haired man, holding his phone with a surprised yet amused expression, marvels aloud at Kang-ho's unexpected choice to call first and even initiate a video call, clearly caught off guard by the gesture. The MC calmly informs that he has some business and asks if the battered man kneeling in the misty courtyard recognizes Lee Young-myung. The battered man's face appears on a phone screen, shouting angrily about the one dragging the White Knight's name through the mud, calling him an absolute scumbag. The protagonist, holding the phone, warns the enraged figure to calm down while promising to send the address and instructing to send some of the White Knight members over. The battered man trembles violently as the protagonist reveals he has already captured the entire gang, while several unconscious men lie on the ground nearby. A battered man, eyes wide with fear, recognizes the dark-haired figure before him as the demonic Beast King, while the man with his back turned confirms this is the only stash house left for the stolen goods. The battered man nervously insists he wouldn't lie, explaining they were completely robbed by a thief named Phantom, leaving this as their last remaining stash. The dark-haired man questions the name Phantom, prompting the battered man to describe him as a thief gaining notoriety who leaves a black card behind after stealing. The battered man, desperate, pleads for his life after revealing all he knows, while the dark-haired figure, surrounded by a faint blue aura, calmly agrees to let him live. The MC strikes fiercely, his glowing fist crashing into the battered man's face with overwhelming force, eliciting a sharp cry of pain. Blue energy swirls around him as the impact sends shockwaves through the room. The battered man, eyes wide with panic, desperately cries out about his mana, clutching his chest as blue energy spirals violently around his fist, his face twisted in agony and disbelief. The protagonist leans in close, his expression calm yet resolute as he declares that he will spare the battered man's life, but has destroyed his mana whole, rendering him powerless and forcing him to live as an ordinary civilian from now on. The battered man, trembling and bloodied, struggles to comprehend the sentence, begging for death instead of a powerless existence, his voice filled with desperation and disbelief at the thought of living as a mere civilian. The MC stands resolute, a faint blue aura surrounding him as he addresses the battered figure kneeling before him, instructing him to engrave a new mark where his mana hole once was, signaling a fresh start despite the loss. His gaze softens slightly as he reflects on the heavy toll paid to achieve the current peace, the small white cat nestled at his collar blinking up innocently, contrasting the somber mood. Nearby, a man in casual clothes approaches the trembling, bloodied figure on the ground, reassuring Seol that not everyone scarred by war is broken, offering comfort amid the harsh aftermath. The protagonist smiles gently, promising a nourishing meal once they return home, but first insists on a bath, his calm demeanor a stark contrast to the chaos fading behind them as they prepare to leave. A small cabin rests quietly in a snowy forest, smoke gently rising from its chimney as snowflakes drift softly through the air, a faint rainbow shimmering in the cold winter light. Suddenly, a tiny white cat with bright blue eyes leaps energetically into the air, surrounded by a burst of icy blue energy and snow scattering beneath its paws. The cat's wide eyes turn to shock as a large, scarred hand swiftly reaches out toward it, the snowy wind swirling fiercely around them. The MC lunges forward, catching the startled cat protectively against his chest, as snow explodes around them both in a flurry of motion. The protagonist gently pats the small white cat, teasing it about its dislike for baths, comparing it to someone named Hui, yet insists it must take one despite the cat's loud protests. A hand holds a peculiar greenish-blue fruit with a dark stem above a bathtub filled with sparkling blue water, emphasizing that this is no ordinary bath. The same fruit, identified as the world tree fruit from a recent shopping trip, floats in the shimmering water beside a person's submerged legs, highlighting its special significance. The protagonist uses his mana to melt the fruit and blend it into the warm bathwater, his hand touching the glowing water as it ripples with magical energy. Before heading out to war, Beastman warriors would grind up a tiny amount of the world tree fruit's peel and apply it to their bodies, as a young man gently bathes a small white beast in glowing green water. The tiny creature, eyes closed in bliss, splashes happily in the warm, shimmering bathwater, its face glowing with contentment and a soft blush. The protagonist smiles warmly, noting how good the bath smells and how perfect the water temperature is, while the small beast looks up at him with wide, curious eyes. He expresses relief that the creature seems to enjoy the bath, his gentle gaze filled with quiet affection as the magical water sparkles around them both. The small white beast relaxes in the warm, glowing bathwater, its fur gently lathered with bubbles as a hand carefully massages it, the magical water shimmering softly around them. The narration explains how the precious fruit strengthens their fur, skin, and hides exceptionally. The creature, eyes closed in bliss, floats peacefully in the water while the hand continues to soothe it, emphasizing that Seol is using the entire precious fruit to nourish the beast. The small beast happily splashes in the bath, its content expression framed by sparkling water as the magical energy swirls gently around it. The glowing water begins to dissipate, leaving only a few drops behind in the empty bath, signaling the end of the healing and strengthening ritual. The protagonist watches intently as the magical water begins to vaporize, his expression filled with surprise and curiosity at how quickly the transformation is occurring. A gentle smile crosses his face, reflecting a quiet satisfaction as he observes the shimmering particles floating in the air, the atmosphere calm and filled with soft light. The small white beast, lively and sparkling with magical energy, frolics happily in the glowing water, its bright blue eyes shining with delight as the effects of the fruit continue to manifest. He furrows his brow in thoughtful confusion, questioning why the fruit's effects haven't ended yet, pondering the unusual duration and potency of the magical influence. A brilliant surge of icy blue energy erupts, sparkling intensely as it cuts through the air with sharp, radiant force. The small white cat, now glowing with magical light, is revealed as the newly acquired guardian of nature, its bright blue eyes shining with wonder and a soft blush on its cheeks. Text explains the demonic beast's exceptional ability to absorb nature's energy, with a 1.5 times higher absorption efficiency for medicines infused with this energy compared to others of its kind. The protagonist watches closely, sweat beading on his face as he wonders aloud why the cat is absorbing the energy so well, a nervous but amused smile tugging at his lips. He speaks gently to the small creature, expressing satisfaction that after scrubbing it clean and making it shine, the ritual is complete, his calm and caring demeanor filling the quiet space. The small white cat glows softly with magical blue energy swirling around its limbs as a gentle hand strokes its head, the creature's bright blue eyes shining with a mix of wonder and contentment. Outside, a rustic wooden cabin stands quietly under a thick blanket of snow, the cold wind blowing flakes gently through the air against a backdrop of towering, snow-covered mountains. Warm light spills from the cabin's windows, revealing a cozy interior where a fairy with translucent wings carries large carrots, speaking with a cheerful black-feathered rooster holding fresh green onions, while other roosters and a young woman share a lively moment inside. The fairy, concerned yet playful, remarks on the absence of someone for several days, realizing the precious ingredients were gathered during that time, as the rooster excitedly acknowledges the effort, surrounded by the bustling warmth of the cabin's inhabitants. The MC stands confidently in a rustic kitchen, holding a large wok and invitingly suggesting they begin cooking. Two small fairies eagerly add colorful ingredients into the wok, carefully placing them inside as instructed. The protagonist names the rare ingredients being used: vialga root, bagon tree seed, stone of citra, and stone of countra, while a concerned fairy hovers nearby, noting their preciousness and the difficulty in opening their shells with ordinary fire. He reveals a handful of glowing, magical stones, assuring that this amount should suffice, startling the fairy with the unexpected display of power swirling around the stones. A young woman with blonde hair urgently warns that throwing too many mana stones into the fire at once won't create a cooking fire but will cause an explosion, as several colorful stones are tossed onto glowing embers. The MC smiles confidently as a small flame ignites above his head, signaling the start of the magical cooking process. The mana stones erupt violently in a burst of fiery energy, shattering into fragments as the intense flames swirl chaotically around them. The blonde woman screams in alarm, shouting that the fire is going to blow up as a massive explosion of fire and sparks engulfs the scene in a roaring blaze. Flames of blue and orange swirl fiercely around a hand, the magical fire crackling intensely as it dances in the air, radiating a powerful and controlled energy. The MC stands confidently in a kitchen, expertly wielding a large wok as flames leap upward, his focused expression revealing mastery over the fiery magic. The wok is tossed skillfully, sending ingredients flying amid swirling flames that form elegant patterns, the fire's heat and energy perfectly harnessed to cook with precision. A small blonde fairy with translucent wings hovers nearby, eyes wide in awe as she thinks about the terrifying mana the protagonist commands, while he smiles calmly, fully in control of the blazing fire. A close-up shows ingredients roasting in a large pan, surrounded by swirling blue magical flames that crackle and dance around the mixture. The narration explains that after roasting all the ingredients until they become a fine powder, the MC commands a small blonde fairy, who responds eagerly. The protagonist squeezes the juice from a green plant called moonsalt, which drips from the stalks as he prepares to use it. The powdered ingredients and the freshly squeezed juice are combined and mixed together, forming a smooth dough that sparkles faintly with magical energy. A pair of hands carefully shape a glowing golden dough into a smooth, round ball, the light shimmering softly as the process is explained. Numerous golden dumplings rest in a pan, each emitting a faint blue magical flame as they cook, signaling their completion with a warm glow. The MC offers one of the glowing dumplings with a gentle smile, while a small blonde fairy excitedly asks if he wants to taste it, though he warns that eating it might cause his vitality to surge uncontrollably. The blonde fairy, her expression serious and slightly blushing, reveals that the dumplings are not meant for them, hinting at a deeper purpose behind the magical food. A close-up reveals a small white creature panting heavily, a droplet of saliva hanging from its open mouth, its cheeks flushed with excitement or anticipation. The creature's bright blue eyes sparkle with wonder as it asks if the glowing dumplings are meant for it, its stomach audibly rumbling in eager hunger. The protagonist kneels down, gently offering a glowing dumpling to the creature, while reassuring it that the effects are very strong, advising to start with just one. Around them, small fairies and curious roosters watch the exchange with delight. The white creature eagerly rushes forward, its tail wagging furiously as it approaches the protagonist's outstretched hand, clearly thrilled and ready to receive the magical treat. The protagonist firmly grips the white creature's paw, his hand steady and resolute as he prepares to channel energy. Blue magical flames swirl around the creature's paw and the man's hand, sparking with vibrant energy as a bond forms between them. The white creature leaps joyfully, its eyes shining with exhilaration as it proclaims this newfound sensation the best feeling ever, while the protagonist kneels nearby, watching in awe. A glowing status box reveals the creature's identity as a white Fang subspecies, with rare attributes and unknown special abilities. A group of astonished fairies in amazement, witnessing the silver-white Fang nearly double in size instantly, its magical aura surging powerfully through the snowy landscape. The MC smiles warmly inside a cozy room, the soft glow of a fireplace casting gentle light on his face as he speaks calmly. Suddenly, a fierce burst of blue magical energy erupts, swirling rapidly with intense force, signaling the unleashing of a powerful attack or ability. The protagonist and the glowing white creature leap forward together, propelled by the surging blue flames that trail behind them, racing across a snowy landscape with unstoppable momentum. The white creature dashes ahead, its speed and power amplified by the magic, while a voice reflects on how well the medicine is absorbed and wonders what might have been if this had been done for Seol-Hwa in his youth. The MC reflects quietly, admitting he knew absolutely nothing while raising Seol-Hwa. Memories flash of a soldier surrounded by monstrous demonic beasts, desperately fighting with no strategy, unable to properly care for Seol-Hwa when he was sick or hungry. The protagonist sits solemnly beside a massive white wolf, lamenting that if only he had raised Seol-Hwa better, he might have changed things, and he devoted himself to studying demonic beasts after Seol-Hwa left. The white wolf joyfully spins through the air, exclaiming excitement, while the protagonist looks on with a calm, hopeful expression beneath a snowy sky. The MC looks up through softly falling snow, his eyes calm and determined as he vows to accomplish everything he couldn't for someone else, promising to do it for their descendant. The white creature leaps energetically toward him, its bright blue eyes sparkling with joy and excitement, radiating pure happiness as it reaches out with a paw. The protagonist catches the lively creature in his arms, surprised by its sudden weight as it wriggles happily, causing him to exclaim about how heavy it has become. The weight of the creature causes the protagonist to tumble backward, rolling down a snowy slope with snowflakes swirling around him as he struggles to maintain balance. The protagonist laughs warmly, holding the joyful white creature close as he promises to make it the best and provide a life of absolute luxury, their breath visible in the cold air around them. The white creature looks up with wide, sparkling blue eyes, a hand gently resting on its head as it wonders about the whereabouts of another furball, teasing about showing off its bigger body. The protagonist, still smiling, suggests they should go pick up Munchie now, the snowy landscape swirling softly around them as the white creature perches happily on his shoulder. A swift gust of wind blows fiercely across the snowy mountain, carrying the chill and movement of the scene as the protagonist and the creature prepare to move forward. A small white creature with a fluffy tail crouches on a snowy slope, gazing down toward a distant town blurred by swirling snow and icy winds. The cold air whips fiercely around it, emphasizing the harsh winter landscape. The white creature curls up tightly on the snow, its breath visible in the freezing air as it rests peacefully despite the biting cold, its thick fur ruffling gently in the gusts. The reflection of an older man's worried face appears vividly in the large, red eye of a small white creature, capturing a moment of intense emotion. A man bundled in a thick winter coat with a fur-lined hood looks down with a mix of confusion and concern, questioning the identity of the mysterious creature before him. The small white creature lies on the snowy ground, its big red eyes looking up innocently as the man wonders aloud why such a tiny saber tiger cub remains here, suspecting it might have been abandoned despite the area's disaster species supposedly having left. The man crouches near the creature under a swirling snowstorm, advising it to hurry and follow others before a barbed wire fence is erected around the area, warning that once built, escape or pursuit will be impossible. 16 years ago in Chorwin, a gloved hand gently pats a small, white saber tiger cub with bright red eyes, who looks up with a blush and a happy expression despite the falling snow. The hand tightens around the sheath of a large knife, warning the cub that if it doesn't leave, there will be no choice but to kill it. The man, wearing a fur-lined hat and winter coat, solemnly admits that even an ordinary person like himself can at least do that, as the cub wags its tail excitedly, seemingly unaware of the threat. Suddenly, the man affectionately pats the cub's head, causing it to squirm and react with surprise, showing a tender moment between them despite the harsh surroundings. The man gazes quietly at the small white saber tiger cub, sharing a silent moment as snowflakes drift around them. His gloved hand moves deliberately to grasp the handle of a knife strapped to his waist, the cold air swirling with falling snow. Offering a piece of jerky, the man encourages the cub to eat, holding the dried meat close to its eager mouth. As the cub happily munches on the jerky, the man gently pats its head, acknowledging the hardships they both face in their struggle to survive. The small white creature affectionately licks the older man's face, who laughs warmly and calls it a little rascal, their bond evident despite the cold snow falling around them. The man waves goodbye, telling the creature to take care as he begins to walk away, while the small animal watches him with a wagging tail, reluctant to part. The creature lies down on the snowy ground, its eyes half closed and tail still wagging, showing a mix of sadness and longing as it watches the man disappear into the distance. A distant town basks in the soft glow of a winter sunrise, while the small white creature looks on with wide, red eyes filled with wonder and a hint of hope amid the swirling snowflakes. A man dressed in a thick blue winter coat and fur-lined hat waves warmly, his face lit by the soft glow of a snowy sunset as snowflakes drift gently around him. The small white saber tiger cub bounds energetically through the snow, its eyes wide with excitement as it kicks up sparkling snowflakes in its playful rush. The cub races swiftly across the snowy landscape, its white fur blending with the snow as a caption reveals it has grown rapidly under the old man's warm care. The now much larger saber tiger embraces the man joyfully, licking his face as he laughs in surprise, marveling at how big the creature has become and how its thick fur makes it seem like a giant furball charging at him. An older man wearing a thick fur hat smiles warmly as he calls the small white creature a ball of fur and declares that from now on, its name will be Mangchi. The white saber tiger cub blinks with wide, bright eyes and a playful tongue sticking out, as a caption explains that the creature was given the name Mangchi. The man kneels beside the large white saber tiger on a snowy slope overlooking a distant town, reflecting on the loss of his family to monsters during the Great War and addressing the creature by its new name. The man leans back, holding the saber tiger close as snow swirls around them, revealing that after losing his family, he wandered alone and contracted an endemic disease from another world. A man in a fur-lined winter hat reflects quietly, admitting he couldn't bring himself to kill the creature despite it being the cub of a monster and his sworn enemy. The small white saber tiger cub looks up with wide, bright red eyes, its expression soft and innocent amid the snowy backdrop. The man gently pats the cub's head, explaining that he saw his younger self in the creature, left all alone with nothing, as snow falls softly around them. Suddenly, the man coughs violently, clutching his throat while the cub reacts with a low growl, sensing something wrong. The man coughs harshly, clutching his throat as the white saber tiger stares at him with concern, the snowy forest around them swirling with cold wind. He recalls how the creature cared for him when he was sick, providing food that restored his health, and now he resolves to return the favor by going out to find food himself. The white saber tiger dashes off through the snow-covered woods, its tail raised as the man watches it go, promising to come back soon. The man exhales deeply, a faint, tired smile on his face as he braces himself against the cold, preparing for what lies ahead. The large white saber tiger's powerful legs are surrounded by swirling blue energy as snowflakes fall heavily around it, emphasizing its strength and the cold, harsh environment. The saber tiger leaps fiercely toward a man lying on the snowy ground, barking loudly as a small rabbit nearby is startled and tumbles away. The white saber tiger anxiously checks on the unconscious man, its wide, worried eyes filled with concern as it urgently pleads for him to wake up amidst the swirling snow. The saber tiger gazes out over a snow-covered town from a high vantage point, its expression a mix of determination and alertness as the cold wind blows around it. An older man wearing a fur-lined winter hat warns the white saber tiger, Mangchi, not to descend the mountain, stressing that doing so would mean certain death. He also instructs the creature to flee immediately if it encounters people. The white saber tiger's intense red eyes narrow with hesitation, conflicted by the man's strict warnings as the cold wind blows around them. The man lies unconscious in the snow, his face pale and still. Determined, the saber tiger races down the snowy slope, blue energy trailing behind it as it pushes forward with urgency. Driven by the thought that someone must come to the man's aid, the creature speeds toward a distant snow-covered town, the buildings blurred by its swift movement and the swirling snow, as it desperately seeks help for the fallen man. A soldier urgently warns the group about the presence of a saber tiger, identifying it as an S-rank disaster species. His voice filled with alarm as snow swirls around them. The soldiers prepare for battle, one commanding immediate backup and evacuation of residents, cautioning that the mother saber tiger must be nearby, while the icy blue aura of the creature looms in front of them. The white saber tiger cub barks defensively, trying to explain itself as the soldiers ready their weapons, their movements sharp and tense against the snowy backdrop. The saber tiger fiercely swipes at the soldiers, its powerful claws striking with force as it roars in defiance, blood splattering from the impact amid the swirling snow. Soldiers clad in camouflage uniforms urgently launch a barrage of glowing blue spears into the snowy air, their faces tense and voices raised in alarm as they confront the approaching threat. One of the spears strikes the white saber tiger cub, piercing its side and causing it to cry out in pain, blood staining its fur as it tumbles violently across the snow-covered ground. Despite its injuries, the cub struggles to stand, its eyes filled with desperation as it pleads silently for help to save its dying companion, blue energy crackling around its wounded body. The soldiers hoist the injured creature with their spears, their expressions a mix of determination and urgency, while the cub's desperate plea for someone to come to their aid echoes through the cold, snowy battlefield. The injured white saber tiger cub struggles to move as three soldiers in camouflage uniforms rush toward it, their weapons raised and glowing blue energy swirling around the creature. The cub's eyes close tightly in pain, silently begging for someone to come to its aid as the cold wind and snow swirl around its battered body. A soldier urgently warns a dark-haired man not to intervene, insisting they can handle the threat on their own, while the man faces the soldiers with a calm but serious expression. The white saber tiger cub gasps weakly, its red eyes flickering open as it fights to stay conscious amid the harsh winter surroundings. The MC surveys the snowy surroundings with a serious expression, noting the absence of any adults nearby and concluding that this place is a straggler's domain. He confidently assures that he will handle the situation easily, urging others not to worry. Soldiers clad in camouflage stand ready, one responding respectfully to the young man's command as blue energy swirls around his leg, while the injured white saber tiger cub looks up at him with hopeful eyes. Our boy speaks softly to the cub, asking if it needs help and telling it to lead the way, his voice calm and determined as snowflakes drift around them. The white saber tiger cub's eyes widen in surprise and relief as a blue energy aura envelopes it, and it senses its body regaining strength, signaling a hopeful turn in its dire condition. A pale, elderly man wearing a fur-lined winter hat lies unconscious in the snow, his face marked by exhaustion and pain as a hand presses urgently against his chest. The protagonist kneels in the snow, purple energy swirling around his hands as he explains that the man suffers from an endemic disease originating from the Mu continent, where an unbearable amount of mana has taken root in his heart, slowly consuming his body. Our MC looks down with a serious yet encouraging expression, telling the white saber tiger cub that its friend was lucky, likely because it has a brave companion like itself. The cub pants heavily, its red eyes shining with hope amid the cold. Our boy extends his hand, releasing a concentrated swirl of purple mana that descends toward the unconscious man, signaling the start of a desperate healing attempt in the harsh winter landscape. The pale, elderly man stirs weakly, his eyes fluttering open as he groans softly in the biting cold. The white saber tiger cub leans close, its red eyes filled with concern as the man struggles to speak, whispering his name with disbelief. The man laughs warmly, embracing the cub tightly as it barks joyfully, their reunion filled with relief and affection amid the snowy landscape. The cub rests its head gently on the man's chest, both finding a moment of peace and comfort together as snowflakes continue to fall around them. The MC sits quietly atop a snowy hill, overlooking a sprawling city nestled among snow-covered mountains, the cold wind swirling around him as snowflakes drift gently through the air. Close up on the white saber tiger cub's intense red eyes, filled with determination and hope as it looks up, its fur ruffled by the cold but spirit unbroken. The young man smiles warmly, raising a hand in greeting, while the white saber tiger cub confidently perches on his head, its small paws resting gently as it looks upward with pride and contentment. The white saber tiger cub stands solemnly before a gravestone in the snow, its large paws planted firmly on the ground as the cold wind blows, casting a quiet, respectful atmosphere over the snowy memorial. The white saber tiger cub's intense red eye gleams brightly against a clear blue sky, its fur ruffled by the cold wind as it gazes forward with unwavering determination. A framed photo of an elderly man rests solemnly on a snowy gravestone, surrounded by a tranquil winter landscape, while the words urge to follow that man, promising freedom to live in the wide world. Our MC smiles softly amid the falling snow, reflecting on how 5 years after sending Mangchi away, the old man passed on, his memory lingering in the quiet winter air. The young man stands peacefully in the snowy woods, accompanied by a large white beast and the small white saber tiger cub perched on his shoulder. As the narration reveals that every year around this time, Mangchi returns to visit the old man's resting place. Water droplets fall gently as a small white creature with bright blue eyes looks up, its expression filled with innocent wonder and delight. Tears stream down the face of a larger white beast, its eyes glistening with emotion as water droplets continue to fall around it, blending with the snow. Our MC smiles softly, reaching out to pet the small white creature perched on his shoulder, noting the sudden onset of rain amidst the snowy scene. A caption reflects on how the old man's resting place will feel less cold with a friend mourning him every year like this. A large yellow and black striped insect-like creature plummets rapidly through the air, surrounded by streaks of motion and energy, emphasizing its swift descent. Our boy stands calmly in the snowy forest, a large white beast roaring behind him while a small white saber tiger cub perches on his shoulder, both surrounded by swirling snow and frosty trees. The scene shifts to a close-up of a large yellow and black striped insect-like creature crashing into the snow near a pair of feet clad in black and white sandals, its wings shimmering as it lands forcefully. Our MC looks up with a serious expression as dozens of the same insect-like creatures swarm around him and the small white cub, prompting a thought that these might be the new species appearing once again. A swarm of yellow and black striped insect-like creatures descends rapidly, their wings beating fiercely as they fill the air with a threatening buzz. The MC stands calmly, his gaze steady as the small white creature on his shoulder watches the swarm with wide blue eyes. One of the insects lands near the MC's feet, its red eyes gleaming ominously as he commands, invoking a power to open the demonic beast's eye. The large white beast behind him roars, adding to the tense atmosphere as the insect prepares to obey. A detailed status screen appears, revealing the creature as a battle bee, with extremely low rarity, attack, defense, special ability, and potential ratings. It possesses a skill called blind obedience, making it blindly loyal to its master, and its strength increases significantly when acting in a swarm. The MC and the small white creature exchange surprised looks as the insect approaches, prompting the small companion to question if the creature belongs to them. The MC responds with a puzzled expression, unsure of the situation as the insect hovers nearby, awaiting further commands. The MC and the small white creature share a sudden moment of surprise as the creature lunges forward, biting fiercely into the yellow and black striped insect, its blue eyes wide with determination. The insect struggles violently in the creature's grasp, its wings flapping rapidly, while the MC watches closely, wondering if the creature sensed the monster's demonic energy. The insect thrashes wildly, its body twisting sharply as it attempts to break free, the MC's focused gaze tracking every movement with growing concern. The insect finally breaks loose with a forceful snap, flying away as the small creature's intense blue eye follows its retreat, reflecting a mix of shock and resolve. The MC watches intently as the small white creature bites fiercely into the yellow and black striped insect, its eyes closed in determination while electricity crackles around the struggling insect. The insect's stinger suddenly snaps off, breaking free from the creature's grasp with shards flying in all directions. The broken stinger falls gently into the MC's open palm, snow swirling around as he examines the sharp fragment closely. He contemplates the stinger's effect, noting that Seol's skin, strengthened by the World Tree Fruit Bath, should never have been pierced by such a weapon, and wonders if the insect's sting contains paralyzing poison, explaining its high rank despite its small size. The MC watches a massive swarm of yellow and black striped insects filling the sky, his expression serious as he concludes that they cannot simply be ignored. Urgently, he urges the white beast beside him to follow the swarm, his hand glowing with blue energy as he prepares to give chase. Mounted on the large white creature, he speeds forward through the snowy landscape, the swarm buzzing fiercely around them, while he notes the fortunate absence of nearby civilian settlements. Despite the lack of people nearby, he remains concerned about the insect's voracious appetite, knowing this poses a significant threat as the swarm continues to surge forward. A swarm of yellow and black striped insects fills the sky, their numbers vast as they buzz fiercely above barren trees, while a dark-edged thought reveals they consume grass, trees, and entire mountains. The scene shifts to skeletal remains of monsters scattered across the snowy ground, surrounded by the relentless swarm, emphasizing that these creatures also feed on corpses, marking them as incredibly omnivorous and a serious threat to nearby areas. The MC, with a determined expression, vows to exterminate the swarm before they can attack civilian areas, while the small white creature on his shoulder looks up with bright, hopeful eyes, both framed by a cold, snowy backdrop. Suddenly, the large white beast roars fiercely, and the MC turns sharply, sensing something approaching, his focused gaze questioning the identity of the incoming presence. The MC rides the large white beast, facing a swirling black and red vortex in the sky surrounded by a swarm of yellow and black striped insects. He asks if that ominous portal is the creature's nest. The MC and the small white creature perched on his shoulder exchange a calm, knowing look as he explains that it has been 15 years since a raid-class gate appeared. Recalling the hardships they endured back then, the white beast bares its teeth confidently, while the MC reassures that things have changed since that time, and they are now prepared for what lies ahead. With determination, the MC urges the beast forward, charging into the dark swirling gate as he declares their intent to head inside. The large white beast slams its glowing blue paws onto the ground with fierce determination, signaling the start of an intense confrontation. A massive swarm of yellow and black striped insects bursts forward, their wings beating rapidly as they swarm in defense, prompting the MC to question if they are protecting their home. The MC, eyes glowing with blue energy, channels his power with focused intensity, his small white companion perched on his shoulder sharing his resolve as he prepares to unleash his predatory instinct. The swarm of insects recoils in surprise and alarm as the MC's power surges, their advance momentarily halted by the overwhelming force radiating from him and his beast. The MC rides the large white beast as they approach a swirling black and red vortex in the sky, surrounded by a dense swarm of yellow and black striped insects that buzz fiercely around the ominous gate. Inside the gate, large cocoon-like structures hang suspended in a dark, eerie environment filled with water and rocky formations, while a narration explains that this is a raid-class gate containing an ecosystem transplanted from another world, offering rare resources not found in normal gates. The narration continues, warning that by the same token, the monsters guarding these rare resources are equally powerful, as the scene shifts to show several large, armored insect-like creatures with glowing purple energy surrounding them. These formidable monsters, with sharp wings and armored bodies, swarm aggressively, emphasizing the deadly challenge that awaits anyone who dares to enter and seek the treasures within the raid-class gate. The MC and the small white creature on his shoulder notice a new species approaching, their eyes widening in surprise as he realizes these creatures are 3 times larger and possess triple the demonic energy compared to the ones that fled earlier. A massive, armored bee-like monster with glowing red eyes and sharp black limbs bursts into the scene, its powerful wings beating fiercely as it charges forward with overwhelming force. The MC swiftly raises his hand, unleashing a concentrated blue energy blast that strikes the monstrous bee, forcing it back with a sharp cry of pain while the small white companion watches intently. The formidable insect hovers menacingly, identified as a Kingtel bee with a rarity rating of D, boasting moderate attack, high defense, but low special ability and potential, its presence signaling a serious new threat. A massive swarm of yellow and black striped bee-like monsters surges forward with fierce intensity, their wings beating rapidly as they descend in overwhelming numbers toward the MC and his large white beast. The MC, seated on the white beast, watches the approaching swarm with a calm yet alert expression, noting that these creatures are far stronger than the smaller battle bees encountered earlier, while the small white companion on his shoulder looks on with equal focus. The MC speaks thoughtfully, suggesting these formidable insects are the true guardians of this place, as the large white beast growls a warning bark, sensing the imminent threat closing in around them. The MC and the small white creature engage in a synchronized sensory transfer, their eyes glowing with energy as they prepare to confront the powerful swarm, their connection amplifying their awareness and readiness for the battle ahead. A glowing explanation appears, revealing that the contractor and the demonic beast share all senses, including mana and physical abilities, as the MC rides the large white beast with the small white creature perched on his shoulder. The white beast's paws ignite with blue energy as it leaps forward, charging headlong into the swarm of aggressive insects descending rapidly from above. The rider and his beast crash through the thick swarm, scattering the yellow and black striped monsters in a violent burst of force and blue energy. The white beast swings its powerful limbs, striking down multiple armored insect creatures with crushing blows, its glowing aura overwhelming the attackers in a fierce counterattack. The MC, his dark hair tousled, swings his arm with fierce determination, striking down the swarm of yellow and black striped insects that buzz aggressively around him and the small white creature perched on his shoulder. Blue energy crackles around his limbs as he fights with swift, precise movements. The small white companion, eyes wide and fierce, lunges forward with a sharp cry, its mouth open as it confronts a large armored insect charging at them. The creature's energy flares, matching the intensity of the attack. The white companion snaps its jaws around one of the armored insects, gripping it tightly with a fierce expression, its bright blue eyes shining with resolve as the insect struggles in its grasp. The insect writhes violently, its wings flapping wildly as the white creature holds firm, the battle between them reaching a critical moment amid the swirling swarm. The small white companion recoils in surprise as a large armored insect lunges aggressively toward it, its sharp limbs outstretched and wings buzzing fiercely. The MC, calm and amused, tells the creature that the insect is still too large for its mouth. His expression gentle as the swarm of bee-like monsters buzzes behind them. Mounted on the large white beast, the MC charges forward with a determined look, the beast's paws glowing with blue energy as they crash into the swarm, scattering the insects with powerful strikes. The swarm of armored bee-like monsters descends rapidly, their glowing purple energy trailing behind them as they launch a fierce attack, their sharp limbs poised to strike with deadly intent. The MC's sharp eyes narrow with sudden focus, sensing something significant nearby. He rides the large white beast at full speed, bursting through the swarm of bee-like monsters that pour out endlessly from a dark, ominous source. Concentrating intensely, he detects a powerful demonic energy emanating from the swarm, wondering if the source lies just ahead. Determined to investigate personally, he urges the white companion on his shoulder as he swiftly changes direction, preparing to confront whatever awaits. The MC leaps into the air alongside the large white beast, their movements synchronized as blue energy trails behind them, signaling the start of a powerful attack. He twists his body sharply, the white companion clinging to his back, as they prepare to strike with precision and force. With a swift motion, the MC propels himself forward, blue energy swirling intensely around his limbs, as he charges toward the dark vortex teeming with hostile creatures. Concentrating deeply, he summons a glowing aura blade, encircling himself and the white companion in a spiraling blue light, ready to unleash a devastating strike against the swarm emerging from the ominous portal. The MC commands activation, his voice sharp as he descends rapidly into the chaotic swarm, his movements swift and precise, slicing through the aggressive insects with a powerful blue energy blade. His intense gaze sharpens as he battles fiercely, the small white companion clinging tightly to his back, eyes wide with determination. He notices a massive structure below, a giant honeycomb pulsating with ominous purple energy, and wonders if this is the true source the swarm was protecting, the demonic energy radiating strongly from within. Without hesitation, he strikes the honeycomb with a concentrated blast of blue energy, shattering its surface and revealing the dark core inside, the demonic power swirling violently as the structure begins to crack apart. Standing firm amidst the debris, the MC watches cautiously as a shadowy figure or energy emerges from the broken honeycomb, the air thick with dark mana, signaling the true source of the demonic energy now revealed and ready to confront him. The MC, with the small white companion perched on his shoulder, senses the return of a powerful presence, his expression tense as glowing blue energy swirls around his arm and wrist. The companion's eyes are wide and alert, mirroring the urgency of the moment. A dark silhouette with glowing red eyes emerges ominously, the figure's presence radiating a menacing aura as the MC's heart pounds with the realization that a fiend has appeared. The atmosphere thickens with danger as the shadowy figure looms closer. The MC's sharp gaze narrows in disbelief and concern, the dark energy pressing in as he acknowledges the severity of the breach, the fiend's glowing eyes piercing through the darkness with relentless intensity. Overwhelmed by the sudden threat, the MC mutters a curse under his breath, his face etched with frustration and resolve as he prepares to face the looming danger head-on. The MC raises his hand cautiously toward a dark, shadowy silhouette surrounded by flickering red flames, his expression tense as he silently admits to himself that he is completely doomed. Sweat beads on his face as he looks upward in alarm, his inner voice escalating to a panicked confession of being seriously and utterly doomed, while question marks swirl around him, signaling his confusion and fear.